Hello everyone and welcome to another Chud Watch. How is everyone doing? Today we're looking at more John Doyle cringe, so it should be good. At least for us. Not so much for John Doyle's sanity, methinks. Kariko59, thanks for 17 months. Unconditional Prong. Did get a notification, that's good. Dr. Baja Blast, thanks for an 80 stream streak. Phoenix Leftist, thanks for 195 stream streak. Hello Garby the Cat on YouTube, how you doing? If you're on YouTube, do me a favor, like the stream, I'd appreciate it. Will it be good for us? Good enough. It'll be entertaining at least. And once we get sick of him, or if he had three strikes, we'll see. I do have that MAGA sitcom pulled up along with some other stuff. John Doyle's the thing where I find him interesting, but I don't even know how much I can deal with him anymore, just because it's the same stuff over and over, and it's the same conceited attitude and the same complete inability to admit that Donald Trump is a mortal 80-year-old man. Raja, thanks for 35 months on Twitch. Appreciate it.
Okay, so
oh yeah, there's a MAGA sitcom. If you didn't see the other day, we watched one of the episodes and it was terrible. It was really hard to sit through.
The triumph of liberal internationalism and cooperation. A Chinese woman from Canada living in America apparently is taking money from Russia. So the DOJ unseals these indictments last week of two Russian nationals who gave nearly $10 million to a Tennessee-based company with the tagline, "Fearless Voices Live Here." And despite not being named in the indictment, we can deduce that they're talking about Tenet Media, which is a company founded by Lauren Chen and her husband, Liam Donovan. And this is a pretty big deal because that's a decent amount of money in this industry. And the people they brought on, these are pretty big names. People
I feel like you're underselling $10 million as being a decent bit of money.
Like Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson. And so if these allegations are true, then the people who they brought on and their employees have all been deceived. And frankly, the left has been handed a pretty decent victory right before the election, which we'll talk about.
It's so funny to me that you can only think in terms of strategy. Like nothing matters and we're only playing a game, as if gamesmanship is the point. It frustrates me when he talks like this. Like, it's not about whether or not it's a good or bad thing for the country as a whole. It has to be, this is good for the left, so that's bad. Ugh.
And so from the indictment we know, and also the statements that these people have put out since, the contributors were all unaware of these company ties to Russia Today, to the Russian government, and that they were
I find that claim suspicious.
Supposed to be apparently.
But that is what they said, and they have been listed as victims.
Apparently promoting Russian interest.
Bumble Homestead, thanks for a 90 stream streak, says, Jesus Christ, when you get some half-decent money then.
In America, along with some other things. So Tim Pool puts out a statement saying that he had no idea, he was deceived. All the work that was done for Tenet by his company was done independently with no editorial oversight. These are all just allegations. And Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, Lauren Southern, Matt Christensen, Taylor, the fella, Hansen, they all put out statements basically.
I did see that, Jay's a proxy. I have the article pulled up in case, you know, we want to cover that. Altered Undying says, I wish my brain would stop coming up with ideas. I got the idea for a Harry Potter parody where houses are based on how to sustain the status quo, and the evil house is made up of people who would try to change society.
Saying the same thing, but neither Chen nor her husband, who were both aware, as shown in the indictment, of the Soviet connection, have made comments at this time. So there's a lot of questions floating around. Lauren's articles are being scrubbed from Great Britain News. Apparently she was let go from The Blaze, which was hosting her podcast. And people are really just dragging her through the mud over these allegations, which maybe is deserved. I suppose, you know, time will tell. But I just want to say up front, I've met her a few times.
Seems pretty airtight. I don't understand how you can possibly think with all the evidence that has been gathered that, like, it's just nothing. Just a little mistake. They literally have messages that were listed in the indictment where Lauren and her co-indictee were messaging back and forth and talking about them knowing that they need to talk to the Russians, and they were looking up like the time zone in Moscow to get in contact with them. This seems pretty blatant. I get it. They are literally innocent until proven guilty, but practically speaking, I don't think you need to talk like that. I think it's pretty clear what's going on. Gamergy with 17 months says, good news, early voting turnout count has already been up in Virginia compared to 2020, and the polls haven't even closed for the day. Everyone check your registration and get out to vote for months, nay years of MAGA coping. That would be nice.
She's always been very nice to me, and so I hope that these allegations are proven false, but, we'll see what happens. Lauren, I'm sorry to use your face for content. You know how the game is played. You use your face for content. I use your face for content. Let's all just set our stones down here before something gets broken. And unfortunately, she's not even here to defend herself. It seems that YouTube actually went ahead and just deleted her channel, along with a few other channels which she owns, just doing like movie reviews or something. And even though she herself has not been indicted, again, these are all just allegations, still just, deleted. There's no due process, no anything. Taylor, the fella, Hansen, same thing. His channel's gone, even though the
Didn't it turn out that he deleted his own channel? The Lauren Chen thing, I think hers were deleted, but I think this guy deleted his own and then claimed it was deleted by YouTube.
indictment literally exonerates him and the other commentators and says, if anything, they were the victims because they were deceived if these allegations are true. But with the indictment, with the government going after this whole thing, as much as I want to think it's like a familial double standard kind of thing, like you can hit your little brother, but if someone else hits your little brother, well, then they get to taste pennies for the next 6 weeks.
Dead G with the $20 super chat on YouTube, thank you very much, says, never see you live, but your streams are great podcast material. Thanks, Hannah. Well, thank you very much for the support and your viewership.
Like, hey, stop. Only we get to psyop Americans. Only we get to propagandize and spread misinformation. But if you do it, then it's bad because you're...
We're already on the equivocation. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, guys. Really, everyone's doing it.
Flag is different, and it's not the same. It's like, okay, this is definitely just an opportunistic move for pretty much all involved parties, as we'll explain. But in general, obviously, the interests of Americans obviously have not been represented in decades. So it's a very easy scapegoat to take this one specific isolated instance of foreign money and present it like, well, this is the whole problem. I hate when this happens. This is the problem with politics. No, actually, I don't think the government has a problem with this at all. Generally speaking, again, like we said with Russia, it's a little bit different, even more so given the nature of this content. But yeah, the indictments unsealed by the DOJ don't actually name Lauren or her husband Liam, but we know pretty much matter-of-factly that they are who the file refers to as Founder 1 and Founder 2. And more of what we know from the 36-page indictment is that the alleged crimes were committed by two Russia Today employees who steered nearly $10 million through various shell companies to, presumably, Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan. Lauren's been making content since around 2016 under the name Roaming Millennial. She began working for Russia Today in 2021. Liam, her husband, also worked for a company, I think it was a German company owned by Russia Today. Essentially, when Lauren was working at RT, she met these two Russians, and then in early 2022, when RT shut down its operations in America because the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict popping off and the subsequent American sanctions against Russian money, the indictment is suggesting that in order to continue its operations in America, these two Russian nationals basically set up a bunch of shell companies and other entities to funnel money into what became Tenet Media, which was started by Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan. The idea being, of course, to continue having influence in American politics without it being under the name Russia Today, hence the money laundering charges and the failure to register as a foreign agent charges. So they get this company started, they got the funding for it from these contacts that they made while working for these companies, which are government entities. They failed to disclose this under the FARA Act. Technically, they received laundered money, again, all allegedly, and then I guess they...
Technically. Why are you throwing technically on there? You could just say they received laundered money. Even he, and John Doyle is wrong about pretty much everything, but the one thing he very consciously appears to do is to choose his words and choose his phrasing to be rhetorically advantageous to himself. He puts a lot of thought into it, or at least it seems he does. Don't get me wrong, obviously it's repugnant to you or I, but I think he more or less tries to put his ideology into a phrasing that could convince people that he's got something to say, even though it's the same old bullshit. I find it interesting that even he has to be like, I don't know, alleged? Like, I know it's alleged, but the, technically laundered money. It's laundered money! What do you mean it's technically laundered money? It's just literally laundered money.
They lied to the commentators working for them about the origins of the money. And the indictment reveals to us that when one of the commentators actually asked where this money was coming from, the Russian people swiftly put together this like fake resume and profile for some French...
Oh, this thing was hilarious. Edward Gregorian.
French businessman who I guess was philanthropic and who was also a complete fabrication. Like, this guy didn't exist. So the whole operation was rotten from day one. And the Russians spent like $10 million to get 16 million views on YouTube in a year, which is pretty much unsurprising if you know how government money works. Communism takes yet another L. State media BTFO'd yet again. And that's pretty much what we saw in 2016
I don't know if you know this, but the current state of Russia is not communist.
as well. You know, like there's all this talk about Russian misinformation or disinformation. It was getting very low engagement, despite it being very expensive for the involved parties. Certainly not high enough engagement to swing an election, but of course they cannot.
See, I disagree with that sentiment. With our Electoral College, all you need to do is get enough targeted, content into the eyeballs and ears of enough people in swing states to convince them of certain things. You don't need to convince millions and millions of people. You need to convince tens of thousands of people in specific areas. So I think the idea that he's also being like, this had no effect on anything or could never have an effect on anything, I just disagree with that. I don't think they'd be wasting this much money on it if it didn't do anything.
Legitimize the Trump ascendancy, which again, we'll talk more about later on. But following the indictment, Taylor the fella Hansen puts out a statement saying
no,
that
my
Tenet
F5 key came off.
is shutting down, its operations are ceasing, and FARA covers basically any interaction with a foreigner, but usually those laws are not strictly enforced. But again, given that Russia is sanctioned,
Usually they're not strictly enforced.
2016 as well, there's all this talk about Russian misinformation or disinformation. It was getting very low engagement, despite it being very expensive for the involved parties. Certainly not high enough engagement to swing an election, but of course they cannot legitimize the Trump ascendancy, which again, we'll talk more about later on. But following the indictment, Taylor the fella Hansen puts out a statement saying that Tenet is shutting down, its operations are ceasing, and FARA covers basically any interaction with a foreigner, but usually those laws are not strictly enforced. But again, given that Russia is sanctioned, that makes things a little bit different. More importantly, this whole situation presents a very ripe opportunity for the regime. My understanding is that there could be prison time, fines, asset forfeiture, things of that nature.
It's so funny to me that he just calls everyone not on his side the regime.
And obviously, as a lawyer,
everyone not on my side is a part of some nebulous other evil side. They're the regime.
American patriot, I'm not in
John Doyle views himself as the resistance, apparently, which is quite funny.
Love with people taking money from foreign interests. So, don't do that. But putting this story into the context of that phenomenon occurring in American politics, which it obviously does, and further just like our top 50 problems, I think that people might be getting a little uppity because they have their own interests in consideration when doing so, which we will explain. But my problem with Lauren Chen has a lot more to do with that, if these allegations are true, then she's damaged the livelihoods and reputations of some very good people and has handed a very powerful victory to the left.
Oh, Tim Pool's poor reputation. How will he ever recover?
Before this election, which we will discuss, but also perhaps separately from that whole thing, she was counter-signaling President Trump before the election, which, as an American whose family has been here for over 300 years, I feel as though I have a pretty big stake in the result.
His family's been here? Oh my God, John, the amount of time your family's been in America is irrelevant. What are you talking about? My family's been in America over 300 years. So what, you dork? What are you talking about? Oh, this is some weird blood and soil stuff.
Results of this election. It sort of rubs me the wrong way when people claim to be on our side, but then they go out of their way to counter-signal President Trump leading up to this election, let alone in ways which are just ridiculous in themselves, frankly, and maybe even a bit more offensive considering that you're not even an American in the first place. I mean no disrespect when I say that, but that's the reality of our situation. But I've said, and I do believe, that anybody who's doing this right now is an enemy. And I've explained why at length. I have, and I will further address the popular criticisms of Trump at length, especially in the coming weeks, but it's all just stupid and unhelpful.
No, he doesn't do that, Spokane Dog Man. I've actually already watched this video. I checked it.
Frankly, it's reckless and it's irresponsible, but she's been around for a while. She's not here to defend herself, and I have no interest in, assigning some motive for all of that, even if it's just like a misread of our political situation. I think that people want to give themselves permission to have problems with people for more acceptable reasons that maybe step on fewer toes, like, oh, well, Brandon DOJ said this, or she took money from this. Sorry, I just don't care about that really right now. Like, the only thing that matters right now is getting Donald Trump back in office. That's our 2-month timeline. We can sort the rest out later. Like, you know, there are a lot of people who are promoting bad messaging, who associate with bad people, who are themselves bad. They're bad actors, but they're attacking Lauren right now because she did a freaking foreign money. Oops, you did a freaking Russian money. You can't do that. And it's like, okay, putting aside the election, which again, that's the only thing that matters right now for the next 2 months. She put out a lot of very good content. She has for many years. She's pretty solid on the issues. I think there are a lot of people who don't like her for that reason. They don't like her for a lot of her opinions, and they're seeing an opportunity right now to basically like take out a radio tower and consolidate and reaffirm their own presence and just write her off, with this being the excuse. And anyone who knows her will tell you that this is like totally
That's
out of
very
left
true.
field.
If it's inconvenient to his ideology, he doesn't care. It doesn't really matter what it is. Yeah. He's so selective about this kind of thing, and he always asserts it with the level of confidence that, like, is astounding to me. John Doyle is ultimately not confident in anything more than his own beliefs. Everything he believes is absolutely true, and he says it as such. He's very wrong, which is what makes him dangerous, but he says it so confidently, and he's been like this since he's like 18, which is wild to me.
This seems nothing like her, and she may very well be being used by the government because they need this right now to harm Trump and to harm the right. And, you know, Sean Fitzgerald, he just put out a video explaining how Lauren herself could actually be innocent. So go check that out if you're interested in the finer details, if you want the actually perspective on the situation. You know, Sean, you shout me out, I hit you.
Whoopsie, did a little bit of foreign interference with an election. Whoopsie doodle.
Back a couple years later.
Just took $10 million like you do, accidentally.
Square. Yeah, we're going to talk about the big boy stuff. We're going to talk about foreign interests in America here. So, yeah, you know, I will say this did make more sense now, like knowing, because when they announced, Tenet Media, I remember thinking to myself, like, why do we, need this? Who is this for? All these people coming together. They're all kind of doing their own thing. They're not going to be collaborating together directly on content. Like, what's the point of making, another network? Now,
I did see that midnight. I did.
Knowing that they just had like $10 million to work with, it's like, okay, yeah, it doesn't have to make sense. Just kind of throw something together. You got that much money to work with. So again, the talent they signed did not know about these allegations, according to the indictment. And their statements so far seem to corroborate that. So as of now, people are saying that Lauren and her husband should be charged with treason and they need to go to prison for the rest of their lives. Everyone always seems to develop this like real sense of patriotism and loyalty to America when the federal government decides to go after one of their political opponents. Democrats, of course, always do this. Neocons are doing it now. It's just another day ending in Y. So we'll start off by saying that whatever you think the foreign money is floating around in politics, it's like 10 times that. And please, no, I know what number is in your head. I
don't even disagree with him on that. There's a ton of unreported foreign influence monetarily in elections, but that doesn't mean that when you catch it, you just let it go because there are other people going not caught. That's not how anything works. Just because X number of robberies go unfixed or unreported or unsolved doesn't mean when you see someone robbing a place, you don't go, oh, hey, probably do something about that. Alton Undying with a 5-stream streak, thank you. Generty with a 40-stream streak says, I was going to ask how John doesn't understand why this is a problem, but if we listen to all the things John doesn't understand, it'd be longer than this video.
Factored for that in my assessment. There's also some equation that
makes me wonder if, and I'm not saying he has, it just makes me wonder if John's ever received money from anyone. Because later in the video, he'll go into like how this process works, and he knows a lot of weird detail about how you would go about taking laundered money from, from, bad actors. But whatever.
That should be drawn, that's something like it's 10 times easier to get funding for something that's going to be like 1/10 as functional as it should be. It's probably 1/10 as easy to get funding for something that should function as it should, something like that. I had a friend tell me one time, like, man, we don't have a donor class built up. It's why I understand why people end up taking money from these Zionist evangelicals. Hey. But when we talk about foreign money, people really want to get mad at that because it gives them this excuse to be like tribal again and pretend that we're actually a country again. But in real terms, terms, any anti-American money is foreign money. Like, this is what democracy looks like. Literally, it's just a bunch of competing interest groups wrestling for control of America's destiny, paid for by the American taxpayer, who all have different reasons to hate the American taxpayer. So when you say foreign money, it's almost like outdated language. Like, what you think you're saying is money that is from non-Americans, which is bad because it's implied to be hostile to, or at least insufficiently compatible with the interests of American people. But there are actually plenty of American, or maybe I should say citizens of the United States, rather, who do that as well, just fine. So
first of all, let's work backwards on this. Calling other citizens of America not citizens, not Americans, let's say. He's saying they're not Americans. They might be citizens, but they're not Americans. Yikesy, dog whistle at best. Secondly, see what he's doing here? He's trying to equivocate once again. He's trying to say, like, oh, yeah, Lauren Chen might have taken $10 million, but this happens all the time, and in fact, foreign money isn't even what you think it is. He's trying to redefine the term. He's trying to make it anyone who takes money for something I don't like, regardless of its source. He's trying to define foreign money as like, oh, person from America I don't like putting money into the Democrats. That's foreign money, is what he's saying. Because he considers them not to be Americans, because his definition of American is people who believe the same things he do politically and how he looks. Like, that's it. Frustrating.
As globalization increases, what we actually mean when we say foreign money is not the same. And my understanding is that foreign money is bad because it goes against the interests of the native people, but so does like basically everything else that happens. So, okay, where do we draw the line? Being a traitor can't just mean taking foreign money anymore. It would be
literally just a picture of John McCain.
Far more helpful to define a traitor as anyone acting against the interests of American people, working against Donald Trump, for example, making it harder for him to get reelected.
Not agreeing with Donald Trump and not wanting him to be the president makes you a traitor. That's where we're at. Cool beans. Herodona says, the new Where Were You on January 6th is, who's funding your high production value podcast studio?
That's a greater crime than whatever the DOJ is mad about. Likewise, giving money to someone who purchases children. That's a greater crime than where...
Literally talking about Dave Rubin doing the surrogacy thing. I don't like Dave Rubin. There's nothing wrong with people doing surrogacy. This is just homophobia.
That money came from in the first place. But these are just my opinions. I'm not going to get all freaking worked up about this, but I'll explain why. You know, we're going to talk about the foreign interests, foreign money, American sovereignty, American interests, all that stuff, how these things work. But a little inside baseball. Every single time people get involved in, you know, what's going on with like other commentators, it's because of personal grudges, expanding market share, something like that. Like, well, I'm the real one. You have to listen to me. And it's like, yeah, listen to him. It's like, okay. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that. Not for me, though, because I'm actually, okay, whatever. Next bit. So, yeah, Russia's the only country that you could get in trouble for taking money from, literally. Like, the only interest you could get in trouble for entertaining.
Not literally. The opposite of literally. That's just not true.
Is the Russian one. You could probably even get away with taking money from North Korea, though I would not recommend this. The only...
What do you mean you could probably get away with it? No, you can't. Not if you get caught.
Money that there is not is Patriot money. Where's the Patriot money? Where's the Patriot money to represent Patriot interests? It just doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. And there are so many interests. There's just this stuff going on all the time. Everybody knows about it, how much corruption there is. So you have to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why is this happening right now? It's not like every case of this is treated equally. So what's the deal with this? And it's very simply that the DOJ is looking for an excuse to persecute normal conservatives, associate them with foreign actors, delegitimate.
They want to persecute normal conservatives that take $10 million from Russian state media? Okay.
Any potential for their ideas to be organic. You know, these are manufactured insofar as they're expressing, you know, right-wing ideas by publishing headlines about...
John, if they were entirely organic and had no pushing from their handlers, then why did they need to give them $10 million? They would have just done it anyway.
Right-wing influencer operation busted by DOJ, Russia, blah, it's Mueller time all over again. Like, okay. So it's going to be used as a boogeyman against the right, against Trump, against Trump's campaign, and you'll see all the usual establishment conservative types jumping to align themselves immediately with the DOJ against these people, or really more specifically, anybody who's expressing sentiment that is similar to these people. It's just a bad situation, very unfortunate allegations, and the details themselves are so stupid, like sowing division, and causing disruption. What does that even mean? I mean, basically, that just means supporting dissident ideas.
Yes, they're supporting far-right ideas that help push division, correct? Have you seen Tim Pool's obsession with civil war? Yeah, that's like kind of the point. Overthought with 100 bits says, as long as the donor has ideals that you agree with, it's okay to take their money, which brings up to today's sponsor, the Taliban.
It's the same thing that we do or anybody does when they're funding or supplying proxies against their enemies. Like you supply the agitators with resources. If you have a rival at
Yes, and that's not in the interest of the home country to allow that to happen. Right? John, we understand why people would do this, but we are on the targeted end of this, and we would like that to not happen because it is not good for us in America. Yes? P-Lord says, Hannah, it's actually perfectly legal to get money from North Korea because in order for you to be considered to have been taking bribes, you have to receive something of value. Cocaine Dogman says, so, Kat, John, and science deniers make my head hurt so bad with their disbelief of random logic. I just want to scream, then do TOS violations.
At any scale, it is beneficial to you if you can support the efforts of something closer to them in their efforts to be disruptive. And again, I don't like what these guys were putting out, especially the anti-Trump stuff. I have a huge problem with all of that. But the language is very specific.
Literally, John Doyle and Dave Rubin are on the list, and John Doyle is pretending... Sorry, Tim Pool. I think I said John Doyle. Tim Pool and Dave Rubin are on the list, and he's acting as though these are, like, hardcore anti-Trump people.
Because anything that is outside of this like established paradigm of political discourse could be causing disruption. You know, they've been saying this for like the last 10 years anyway. And to be honest, if you actually wanted to cause disruption, like you probably wouldn't give it to pretty mainstream commentators who aren't even getting much engagement, frankly. I mean, you know,
again, he's showing the thing from the Tenet Media page. That was the laundering front, John, and I know you're smart enough to know that. What they were paying for wasn't the literal stuff that got posted to Tenet Media. It was for the stuff that was on these people's main pages. Timcast, the Rubin Report, etc. This is the front for the money laundering.
The content that they were putting out for Tenet, it wasn't doing like huge numbers. It didn't.
Correct, because that was the front. That wasn't the actual thing the money was really for.
Didn't really seem subversive in nature. Like the kind of content that Tenet was putting out, we'll say was retaining a lot of mass appeal, but maybe that's the propaganda strategy, you know, like you're casting a wide net, you're blending in with the mainstream right-wing commentators, hiring normal mainstream right-wing commentators, in this case without their knowledge, allegedly, and the trick would be to insert into that what you want getting out into the minds of the public, a certain position on a certain topic. In this case, people are saying that it would be the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but the position on that shifted independently of any of these people, from supporting Ukraine to, well, why should we be involved, to maybe even understanding some of what the opposite side has to say in terms of who's really the instigator. And
oh, look, more Russian talking points. Weird.
That conversation took a while to happen, but once it did, you
people are saying, yeah, he's doing the people are saying thing.
See that the logic from it.
Who's saying that, John? What are you talking about?
Carried over almost perfectly, like it perfectly translated to the Israel-Palestine conflict, where when that pops off last October, the average position is already like, okay, well, who really cares? This isn't our problem. And it's remained that way despite the best efforts of people who were
Don't
probably...
find that to be the median opinion. Seems like the opinions are mostly either pro-Israel or in defense of Palestine. But okay, whatever you say, John. Enjoy your weird little right-wing echo chamber.
Expecting everybody to be all fired up about it the way that they would have been maybe, 3-4 years ago, but they just aren't. And so the timing of the Russia-Ukraine conflict really was helpful in that sense for kind of completing the evolution of the Trump-era foreign policy in the minds of the base to basically like, yeah, who cares? Not our problem. So these people were not really the movers and shakers of that thinking, insofar as they were expressing these opinions. They were pretty much doing so before the company was officially launched, as far as I'm aware. And Wired actually constructed like a database of all the content that they put out, Tenet Media, and they made these...
Yeah, I find this again to be not great or helpful because it's pulling just from the Tenet Media page, which again was the front, not the actual point. So kind of not worth it, but whatever.
Charts of the most used words, the things that were most discussed, and so in over 400 pieces.
The top things, by the way, are Supreme Court, United States Secret Service, TikTok, law enforcement, White House, federal government, white people, free speech, First Amendment, San Francisco, illegal immigrants, America First, Elon Musk, black people. Get it?
And they made these charts of the most used words, the things that were most discussed. And so in over 400 pieces of content from Tenet, Russia, Russian, Russia's, all that, everything to do with Russia directly, had about the same frequency as Hunter Biden.
Again, if you look at Tim Pool, for instance's actual page, not the Tenet one, but his actual page, he talks about it constantly. Not as much now since this came out, but he has historically talked about the Russia stuff pretty regularly. Remember that clip where he was like, we need to apologize to Russia? That kind of stuff.
Just to kind of use that as a sort of benchmark to compare to typical right-wing media coverage, which isn't tied to the Russian government. And Putin's name was said like 30 times. Ukraine was said about 60 times. Biden's name was said like 800 times. So it doesn't really raise too many red flags.
Yeah, they're talking about Biden because they don't like Biden, John. Do you really not understand that saying the word Joe Biden doesn't mean they were talking favorably about Joe Biden?
People all have their own.
Again, I think he knows better than this. I think he's just being incredibly disingenuous, because there's no way he doesn't realize, like, why would these right-wing channels be mentioning Joe Biden so often? It must be because they had a lot of nice things to say about him. Come on.
Own companies, their own staffs that are claiming that there was no editorial direction given to them by Tenet or Lauren or Liam. And to be honest with you, I believe that. I know a lot of these people pretty well. And again, maybe that's all the strategy, right? Like you cast a wide net and then you sneak in what you really want getting out there. And then maybe once you've built up a little bit more of an audience and some more credibility, you like execute that. I don't know. If I'm the Russian state and I'm trying to disrupt, there's like no scenario where I'm bringing Dave Rubin onto that team. He's not making the Power Rangers. This guy's whole thing is like, let's talk it out. Let's have a conversation. Unless that guy was going to do like 4D chess, big brain, subvert his audience, like just kidding, you fool. We're not actually talking it out. We're not actually having civil conversation. Do burn this book. Do burn these books. Quote, Dave Rubin. Dave, he like radicalized me, to be honest. I mean, I remember that one time when he said the time for civil conversation is over. Just do it. Just make America great again. I was like, whoa, Dave, talk about a report from Rubin. So I don't believe the Biden.
Keep Lord says this is the most pathetic audition video I've ever seen.
DOJ, getting back on topic, is like capable of incidental justice. You know, it hates Russia. Cool. It's been going on forever. But of course, there's more to it. It wants to put this out leading up to the election to harm Donald Trump. And you see the media is already running with it. Kamala's down. So yeah, they have to play every card that they have, even if they're at this point.
She was not, in fact, down.
Recycling, and it's going to be used to attack Trump. It's being used to attack TPUSA, which is doing a lot of the groundwork quite successfully for the Trump campaign, as the Trump campaign has developed a more efficient, newer, albeit risky model of outsourcing a lot of that ground game to existing aligned institutions and organizations, which it is now able to do because of a recent FEC rule change back in March, I think. So yeah, just like with everything else, don't...
Briar Rose says he's molding so hard that he wasn't one of the cool kids chosen by the Russians.
Believe that institutions which you know hate you always can sometimes just freaking like do something right. Like, no, every institution is just a different organ of the regime. These interests are not competing with each other, even if they are nominally separate and confused.
Straight up tinfoil stuff, the kind of thing I would see on Tinfoil Tuesday, assuming everyone except for you is on the same side in opposition to you. This is paranoid delusion. This is conspiratorial nonsense. This is not how the world works.
Theoretically check each other's power, hold each other accountable. It's all the same thing. And the official position of the regime is to be anti-Trump. That is an unacceptable position for anyone claiming to be right-wing to hold. The stakes of this election are far too high, which again, we've covered already legitimately, like that's our last shot before being set back decades. And equally as important, the criticisms of Trump are themselves just like ridiculous, which we discussed in that video.
That's an incredibly disturbing image. Good God. Like anime Trump.
but we will discuss more in the near future pertaining to him supposedly compromising on issues, moving to the left, being controlled by some of these interests. It's just not true. He's only improved since 2016. Beyond the wildest expectations, the most optimistic expectations of anyone who can remember what things were like back then, especially before then, which thankfully I can. So we will discuss these things pretty soon. And also, there's plenty of anti-Trump operations being run right now, all over the left, all over the right. So if they knew that Lauren and this organization were doing that, which they were promoting anti-Trump messaging, claiming that he's compromised, he's insufficiently right-wing, etc. Okay, well then perhaps the unique value is not by allowing that to continue if I'm the DOJ, but by indicting them and adding a new or perhaps just like refurbished anti-Trump operation to the arsenal, which is trying to associate him with Russian disinformation, the right in general, with
They're not associating it. He is associated with it. What? John, you are literally doing a report about this, and you are acting as though it is something that has been manufactured by the Department of Justice when the indictment spells out what happened. What are you talking about?
Russian disinformation, foreign interest, delegitimizing right-wing ideas, etc. That's why almost all of the people who are trying to align themselves with the DOJ against Lauren are these like interesting kinds of people who are something in between like the remnants of the neocon class, but not explicitly like anti-Trump people at the same time. They want to position themselves advantageously. They want to consolidate market share. They view this as a perfect opportunity to do so. So in this instance, yeah, they're willing to align themselves with the regime and the regime's Department of Justice, as these people always do.
The regime's Department of Justice.
Yeah, my problem with the content that was coming from this company and from Lauren in particular is that it was promoting anti-Trump messaging, and not just anti-Trump messaging. No one is beyond criticism, but specifically messaging, which I believe...
You literally said it should be considered treason to not support Trump earlier. That was like 10 minutes ago. Just want to remind everyone.
...is inaccurate, low-hanging fruit, perhaps to drive engagement, perhaps not. In any case, it should not be thrown around so carelessly when there's an election right around the corner with such high stakes. So to be honest with you, like this all doesn't really change that. I don't really care what the motives are so much as I care about the actions themselves, though I do think that the motives are probably genuine or at least not directly purchased, if I had to guess. Are the allegations troubling? Of course. Should you do business like that? No, especially not with friends, but it's not my business. I trust that they'll sort it all out, but I don't know, man. My concern right now is how this impacts the election, which really this only changes because it's going to be used, as it's being used already, to associate Trump with Russian disinformation, to delegitimize him, which of course the public is already primed to believe because of years and years of similar coverage against him. So the big lesson here is that you have to guard your heart. Don't get all riled up and write people off, write ideas off because of this kind of stuff, you know. Like,
what do you believe, your lying eyes or your MAGA heart?
Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, these people will be fine. But guys like Taylor, the fella, Hansen, you know, his reputation, which he's already been working to restore because these people have tried to smear him for years for various reasons. Now his reputation, again, is up in the air, and that should not be the case. So the story here, I think, is that, like, because there are all sorts of foreign investors, foreign interests in American media companies, not even foreign in the sense that we defined earlier, meaning like in contrast to the interest of Americans. Okay, like the problem is that these people were boosting anti-Trump content, and they allegedly were deceiving people into making these deals, which have now blown up in their faces, and it's going to leave a lot of scars on their reputations, which perhaps may never heal. Again, I hope these allegations aren't true. We haven't heard anything yet from Lauren or her husband, but if they are true, then that is extremely disappointing, to put it lightly. So the tally right now is that even if not intentional, more credibility has been given to the Trump Russia disinformation narrative. You've stained the reputations of your colleagues. You've promoted anti-Trump content. You've invited more censorship crackdowns, whether, you know, directly from big tech or internally through inviting these people to keep pushing out voices from the conversation by painting certain talking points as now Russian disinformation or whatever. And the gain for that was like, what exactly? It's just, it's not a
$10 million. You read it.
Good situation. And again, I'm not saying that this was intentional or planned or that the allegations are true, but the result nonetheless is more or less this. And I don't really care so much about the intentions as I do like what is actually occurring, but still they're not being accused of a crime. Maybe that ends up happening in the future, but as of now, these are all just allegations. But if these allegations are true, then I really hope that the people who were victims of this are done right by at the very least. I mean, these people are like Canadian nationals. They're not American. Like I didn't exactly expect undying loyalty to America, but I don't know, man. I ask again, where are the patriots? Where's the patriot money? I kind of find it funny that every time, not every time, but most of the times, the people are like, oh, you're insufficiently pro-America. Blah, blah, blah. They end up being like paid off by interest or their assets in some form. Like that's funny. But what's also funny is the reactions from conservatives, like conservatives when gay influencers purchase children.
Again, getting a surrogate isn't that. Briar Rose says, Hannah, does John actually participate in getting people elected he agrees with, or does he just spend time being an alt-right weirdo making overly long videos? I mean, it can be both. What do you mean by participate? I've seen him go out and, like, talk at events, but that's about it. I don't think he's worked inside of a campaign before.
Conservatives when gay influencers purchase children with money that originated in Russia. Hey, what? Stop that. It's like you got to pick your battles. Pick your battles. That's the fundamental problem of life. Finite battles to pick, unlimited battles, you know? You got to pick your battles. Battles, war, and then that's a segue, right? You know, Russia would actually prefer that Kamala takes the White House in November. Putin seemed to actually like jokingly endorse her recently by basically implying that she's an idiot. And so Russia will be able to act with more freedom because she's totally incompetent, just as they've more or less been able to do during the Biden administration, even though there were, yes, economic and military considerations between Russia and Ukraine as well, which pressured them to act. It is regardless true.
Pressured them to act.
Whatever ability they felt they had to act with in 2022, it would have been less if Trump were still in office. So some are saying this whole thing was like an op by Russia.
And by act, he means invading a sovereign nation.
To kneecap the Trump campaign because Trump's foreign policy was a very successful peace through strength kind of model, which no is not the same thing as being pro-foreign involvement, pro-foreign wars. Actually, it's just a fact that when you portray strength, your enemies will not attack you or your allies the way that they would if you were not portraying strength because they sense a vacuum, which they can then fill. Again, we've got a whole video coming up on that because people are pretending that Trump is just another Bush-era neocon now, which is just ahistorical. But again, the lines don't have to be so clear. People are saying otherwise, and they're doing so because they want to forward their own interest. There are all sorts of interest groups who don't want Trump back in the White House. They all have their own little reason worked out for it. And again,
I mean, yeah, his presidency a second time would be pretty deleterious to many different groups and most individuals.
the reason for that is that the only
Not a conspiracy. You just support a really shitty guy, John.
people who are willing to look out for the interests of Americans are Americans. And the only person who's willing to represent those interests is Donald Trump. Everybody else, all these little interest groups who are all aligned against Trump and only aligned against Trump because they are looking out for their own interests, and their own interests are building up power in America, having Americans foot the bill for that, rinse and repeat forever. So yeah, that the Biden DOJ comes out and decides to out like one of these doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Anybody who is operating, making it more difficult for Trump to get back in the White House is a traitor as far as I'm concerned. So the reasoning behind it ultimately really is like irrelevant. You can do it for engagement, money. Money's honestly like that kind of makes sense. It's like an economic calculation. If you're doing it just for attention or you have like a grudge, I mean, that's almost worse in a way. And the language is really what's troubling. You know, people want to be like, foreign money? Ew. Come on, gang. Let's get out of here. And it's like, you're not the group leader. You're not any better. You're bad too. You don't get to stay either. Lauren is Chinese. She's from Canada. She is like, you know what? Like, you guys are American. You're doing even worse. I expected more from you. You're supposed to be a patriot. I've got guys taking Israeli money, mad that other guys are taking Russian money, and then the guys taking Arab money are like, these guys are all the same. And then the guys taking Chinese money are in the corner literally being gay, and it's like, okay, will the real American patriots please stand up? This is one of the interesting things about my line of work. You know, I'll have guys getting paid by Arabs like, why don't you freaking talk about the freaking Israel lobby? And it's like, you know, I just don't really think. And then I'll have guys getting paid by Israelis who will be like, yo, can you believe that guy? And it's like, well, you kind of, you know? So I am paging real American patriots. Check your waistband. Code 1776. There is all kinds of money. There is all kinds of opportunity wrestling for control of the mighty USG to advance the interests of literally everyone else in the world but Americans. And you can form little alliances between factions, et cetera, et cetera. But the only actual crime is being a loyal American patriot. That's the only thing that's not allowed. Free Palestine protesters flood the Capitol. They face no consequences, even though everyone online says, well, that's the real threat. That's the one thing you can't criticize. Dude, like, yes, you can. If you build up a C-list following on any social media platform, I promise you can talk about nothing but Zionism for the rest of your life, and you will be paid very well for that. These people...
Ashley One Up with 50 bits says he sounds so salty that no one is paying him.
People's brains have, like, melted. I'm sorry you haven't found the skeleton key. You know, everyone found out about Jewish money this year, which is, like, super based, Zionist money, etc. But the Zionist stuff is tricky because you have people putting up money who are Zionists because they believe...
Brain Injured Gamer says, if Trump loses the election, what are people like John gonna do? They've made Trump their entire identity. I don't know. I really don't know. He did another video that we're not covering today, but it's more recent, about Trump assassination attempts. And he basically says, like, yeah, Trump's the only one that can do this, and if Trump isn't around, then the entire movement's going to collapse. And at no point does he take it aside and go, by the way, Donald Trump's an 80-year-old man, so, like, we need to do something. I just feel like John is not in the real world about the age of the person he idolizes. Like, Donald Trump could literally die of old age any day, and it wouldn't be that shocking. Like, that's the age he's at. Same with Biden, you know? They're both old enough that, in theory, they are an age where they could just go to sleep and die because their body's done. Like, John never seems to be consciously aware of that.
Israel is like Christianity, the state, but that doesn't necessarily make it Zionist political organizing, the history of which is far more interesting than just supporting the state of Israel. It's usually more focused on scaring wealthy donors into supporting these groups by convincing them that, like, the Nazi threat is real and only they can stop it, which is exactly what group...
John, the threat is coming from inside your house. And also, I like that you said that as if Nazis aren't a threat while showing a picture of a literal neo-Nazi with a swastika necklace.
It's like the ADL began doing after World War II, and it's what they've been doing successfully ever since, in cooperation with various NGOs, intelligence agencies, the FBI, the DOJ. Now, I don't know if you've ever met a Jewish person, but they kind of spook easily.
Well, there that is, by the way. There's weird anti-Semitism.
And Zionist political organizing has been successful when it is able to create some boogeyman type figure who it can shove into the faces and the names on their wealthy donor lists and get them to donate money, and then use that money to work against various right-wing organizations, campaigns, what have you. And this has basically been a pattern every time the American right starts to develop something with teeth. This is how the left has operated for decades, and that's why it's important not to spurg out, not to become that boogeyman, because it alienates the people on your side. It galvanizes the people working against you over time to work even harder against you. You'll just never win like that. I told people this 2 years ago. I said, don't spurg out, please. And they said, but it is in my nature. And now a couple times a month, I get accused of getting Venmo deposits from Benjamin Netanyahu. So yeah, this whole discussion, as you may have noticed, puts up a bat signal for exactly those types of people who are now against Trump because he's a Zionist who's going to get us into war with Iran, which also they guaranteed would happen in 2017. Of course, it didn't. Trump didn't get us involved in anything new. Everything was fine. Just take it easy. We will go over that whole foreign policy record soon, just like we said. And half the people who shill against Trump are like failed Hollywood aspirants, failed musicians, whatever, and then they wash up into right-wing politics to satisfy their need for attention. Spare me your conviction. You're a spiritual theater kid. That's what you are. So yeah, you know, as a...
Again, the theater kid thing. John, what do you think your personality is? You remember what your intro used to be with, like, the 1950s outfit? You're a theater kid, John. Maybe not literally, but in spirit.
Same with the alt-right. When they had a lot more influence, it wasn't really possible to touch things like mass immigration, demographic change, anti-white racism, because it immediately would be associated with, like, the NS LARP. But then they imploded, and okay, now guys like Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump can then get away with talking about those issues and bringing us to where we are now, which is why those types of people are desired and often even coordinating with those interests in the first place, because you can make those ideas radioactive and people are off put by it. And we should know There is nobody in the world who wants to prove the existence of the real racists and the real Nazis more than our base. And them fixating on those concerns is something that would take decades to undo, and we just don't have that timeline to work with. We need their support and their resources right now. So the moral of the story, don't spurg out. Do not. Present yourself well, and the world can be yours. And the biggest tell that I'm right, which of course I am, is the way people get so mad. John Doyle says don't talk about Israel. John Doyle just said don't spurg out. I don't understand the difference. I know that you don't. So that's part of it. The other part, and for some reason nobody talks about this, but there's a ton of Arab money floating around, and I guess nobody talks about it because it's not freaking based or whatever, and maybe they're taking it themselves. And it's like, all right, well, if you want to save souls, it's probably not good to be promoting this. You probably should not, be trying to entice people into worshiping false gods, because they're trying to take young men who naturally have conservative instincts and funnel them into Islam. And there's a lot of this in the red pill sphere nowadays. Like, look, our women aren't like this. We're based. Okay. Anyway, more importantly, though, they're trying to build relationships and command influence within the right because they don't want a right to ascend, which is hostile.
Probably don't repeat that, Jojo the Snake Lady. It's not a good thing to say.
To their interests, just as any group wouldn't. And their interests are, of course, moving to Western countries, breeding like rabbits more than half the time with family members, by the way. Our women aren't degenerate. It's like, okay, well, our women aren't our sisters, It's like, we're going to keep score.
Jesus Christ, he's just going off today. Trey says, here's the thing about Trump. I don't think that people like John necessarily need Trump to be in office long term, and I don't necessarily think needs Trump in office. What they really want, what they really need, is the tools of democracy to be fundamentally gutted, because they don't think people are equal. Yeah, but I don't think without Trump they're going to have someone to coalesce around in order to get that done. And I don't think Trump is competent enough, even with his team, to get that done realistically.
They want to accumulate wealth, political power, and they just want to be just another interest group which wants to command the USG to act in its interests, funded, of course, by the American taxpayer, against the interests of the American taxpayer, until the bones of our civilization are spotless, which is why literally every one of these based Muslim influencers, they always end up denying the reality of mass Muslim migration, denying the reality of rape gangs in Europe, etc. It's like, okay, Chinese money, you don't really see that on the right too much, even though people skits out about it. This is much more of a Democrat thing. I won't say too much, but I was actually offered what you might call Chinese money a few years ago, but from the liberal Chinese people. I was like, what? Have you seen my content and all? I said, no, of course. The only money I've ever accepted is from patriots. And by the way it works with all this is not.
This part was interesting to me. This made my ears perk up. John seems to know a lot about this.
Not as romantic as people may think. My understanding is that in most cases, you're basically offered an opportunity to produce content for money, whether that be through a network directly or a relationship where your media company is licensing content to a network, or some entity is putting up money for some stake in the content that your company is producing, whatever it may be. And you don't receive some list of things that you have to talk about, things you can't talk about. But it's sort of understood that whomever's putting up the money more or less has permission to set some sort of editorial position, so to speak, of whatever the particular content is, which isn't done in brass tacks, more like maintaining communication in a group chat, phone calls, just something to launder more or less what is supposed to be getting out there. People might actually believe it. They might convince themselves that they believe it over time, but in any case, there is something a bit sticky about it all, isn't there? And of course, it gets complicated when you start incorporating and hiring and making it all official, moving money around to different places, through different places. That can expose your flanks if not done carefully. It sounds like whatever was going on in this story that we're talking about, for example, was done a bit sloppily, or maybe not.
Boy,
maybe
John sure does seem to know a lot about money laundering for foreign
things at all. I don't know. I'm not really in this world. I've noticed, though, that most of my detractors take money from these people. They try and fail to take money from these people, which is even funnier. And I'll say this, people want to adopt a threatening identity, something that is threatening to our ruling class. If that's you, do not confuse what is simply annoying to your enemies, what makes their eyes roll, with what is legitimately threatening. Your model has to be something that works. If they don't like it and it's palatable to your base and you can get into power off it, now that's interesting. That's an interesting idea. But it has to check those boxes. People want to just be and just be 12-year-olds on skateboards, which is fine. I mean, that's a lot of fun, but that's what you are. There's a low ceiling for that. There's a low ceiling for what you can do. It's self-immolation. I've seen it a million.
I will say it is a little funny that I think he was just shitting on Tim Pool there and just calling him a 12-year-old who skateboards. That's pretty funny.
In times, the patriot truly walks alone. And just finishing on this,
How much money is Hannah getting to push the anti-Tartarian narrative? Not enough. Not nearly enough.
Russian money, by the way, it's like pennies on the dollar. Frankly, it's just like not a real thing in this sphere in terms of the money that actually like floats around. Even when they ran the like Russiagate, Trump Russia 1.0, that whole narrative, everybody they ended up going after for taking Russian money, Russian organizations, whatever, to influence the election in 2016, it was like pro Bernie Sanders people. Only like one of them was actually pro Trump. So like we said,
yeah, they were trying to split the vote, most likely. I'm not saying that if you were in favor of Bernie Sanders that you're an agent of Russians, far from it, but it is advantageous for them, especially once the primaries were over and the general was happening, to push people further away from deciding to vote for Hillary and instead writing in Bernie, or just not voting at all. Yeah?
there's a reason this came out now. There's a reason that this happened. And it's looking like Brandon's DOJ wanted another Russiagate meme they could pin on Trump right before the election. As Kamala's polls are dropping, everyone hates her. But
again, is he familiar outside of his personal echo chambers? GamerG says Trump is like Joseph Tito to Republicans. Tito, who was a leader of Yugoslavia, he was the only one who could keep the country together, and when he died shortly after, the country fell apart and split. I can see the same situation with MAGA, where the Republican Party coalition fracturing and losing even worse. You can already see early signs of it happening. This is one of the reasons I'm begging people to vote. I'm begging you to vote for Kamala. Do you know how much damage this could do to the Republican, political party for a decade? Please, this is such an opportunity. Please vote.
But I guess they didn't realize that Lauren herself had been amplifying anti-Trump viewpoints and sentiment, or more likely, they thought that it would just be more effective to use it to just try to delegitimize Trump and the right by association, of course, and they knew that there would be establishment conservative types happy to go along with it to consolidate market share, settle personal grudges, whatever it may be, as is always the case, and it catches fire with all the usual suspects because to this day, they refuse to legitimize the Trump victory, both left and right. They refuse to concede that the Trump victory was actually the thing that most accurately represented the will of the people in
He lost the popular vote.
decades. The people who worship democracy, they don't even know it when they see it, right? It was either talk of Russian agents.
Democracy is when the guy who has millions fewer vote wins.
Misinformation from the left or the neocon right that it was just these dumb Americans who wanted to throw a pipe bomb into Washington because they were mad. No, actually, Donald Trump articulated a legitimate political platform and it was successful. And Americans were excited to finally have a menu option which reflected their concerns instead of being forced to just choke down more slop about tax.
Good Morning Comrade Radio says, "Meh, I don't think so. The Dems will just go further right, but yes, vote for Kamala Harris because one, it'll be funny, and it'll make Hillary mad, which is also funny." I don't know about that, and I hope it's not true, but if that happens, then maybe there'll be opportunities for other things. Briar Rose says, "I love how much John wants to LARP as a badass and a patriot, decorates his set with World War II props, but shockingly didn't join the armed forces, didn't give up his youth to serve the country, which he seems to fetishize. He would probably say, well, the military's owned by woke now." I don't know if he'd use those words, but he would say something along those lines. And thank you, Good Morning Comrade Radio, for your Prime subscription.
Policy and
It is still September, by the way, so now's a good time to get a subscription if you haven't.
Expanding freedom globally in the name of democracy. I refuse to allow Trump's political operation to be reduced to some middle finger in the public discourse. He is a legitimate political figure who just so happens to be the funniest man alive. These are compatible. And even now, the people on the right who did this, they know that they can't openly get away with criticizing Trump the way that they used to. But even now, they cannot help themselves but to just take these little snipes at him almost every week. They can't give him credit. It's just a fluke. Maybe they occasionally make the best of it. They're a bit nicer, but at their core, they maintain it was just a fluke. Americans are just dumb. It's like we talked about in the last video. These people squirmed when Trump came onto the scene and made them reveal how much hatred they have for average Americans. And nobody else could do that except for Donald
Trump is an average American?
Donald Trump could make them delegitimize themselves so quickly and so publicly. But they have to delegitimize Trump as well, so things like this are very useful. They didn't even have to indict them, and they're never going to arrest the 2 Russians, so the whole thing, which really kind of leaves more questions than answers. Some people online are paranoid and bringing up that typically when feds have messages and search histories, it suggests that people cooperated with them to avoid trouble, and maybe they turn over contacts and act as eyes and ears on the right, among other things. I would just say that for the next 2 months, we kind of just need to keep our eyes on the prize. My axiom for patriots versus disloyal R's, loyal Americans versus traitors, real Americans versus citizens is literally whether or not you support Donald Trump for president. That may
Real Americans versus citizens.
expire, but
Creepy.
for the next 2 months, it is that. Where you stand on that issue is what determines whether you're loyal or if you're a sellout far more than whatever is going on here, even if people want to get all riled up and get up on their soapbox. Because the truth is that there are a lot of different ways that you can sell out. People sell themselves out every day. You can sell out for money. You can sell out for clout, attention, dopamine hits, extravagance, leisure, comfort. Anything that makes you compromise from your mission statement is selling out. I think that people focus a lot on like selling out for money because it kind of gives them permission to just cast stones before reflecting on their own situation. Your worst sin is that you've betrayed and destroyed yourself for nothing. Really makes you think, right? Like I'll get this from time to time, you know, because I run ads for a few companies in my videos. Okay, yeah. You've never once seen me though try to sell you like a snake oil supplement or like a gold investment, stuff like that, which I'm not throwing shade, but I promote products.
You can throw shade at that. Those things are disgusting.
That I like and that are produced by companies run by good people who I like and who agree with everything that we talk about. I had a company a few years ago who I thought fit into that. They asked me to cut something. It was stupid. Maybe I should have, but we never worked together again. I have left more money on the table than my biggest critics will see in their entire lives. But last week, I had a guy see me advertising the promo for the Gladiator that Undertack was doing, and he sends me a DM. He's like, huh, Doyle the sellout. It's like, what? Your IQ is so low. You can only see 2 variables at a time. And so you're like, okay, wait a minute. Promo, and that's just like the generic YouTube promo, and these are the same thing. I'm very smart. And it's like, okay, I think it makes people feel good to sit back and just shoot arrows at everybody else. Like, at least I'm not a sellout. You have nothing to sell. You have no skin in the game. You're not doing anything. You know, I will say most of these people, they get involved because they're theater kids, true. But a lot get involved because they're true believers. And then eventually the pressures of the regime just become.
Ginny in Germany with 300 bits says, hi Hannah in chat, happy to help, or happy to be able rather to catch you live instead of just watching the VOD for once. Well, I'm glad you're here too. Thanks for kicking off a hype train, 56% to level 1.
Like too much to bear for whatever reason, depending upon the individual circumstances of that person. And they end up compromising in some form. Thankfully, this is not the case with everybody. There are real American patriots working on our side, but we are still in need of more people. Not the people, not a mass movement where everyone freaking wakes up. We need to attract the right people. And nobody ever got rich shilling for the interests of the American people. It's like we said in the last video. There need to be incentives which are attractive to high quality people who have opportunities elsewhere.
Oh wow, gift subs. Aaliyah Explores, thanks for gifting a sub, and Bumble Homestead, thanks for gifting a sub, getting us over level 1.
Who don't need to be involved in politics the way the theater kid does. Because you're never just gonna wave a magic wand and get rid of foreign money in politics.
What's the obsession with theater kids? I think it's about his high school life and that they made fun of him. In the video where he introduced this concept, it was between the lines. He talked about how some of the only people he didn't get along with in high school were the theater kids, so I assume they just made fun of him because, well, you know, John Doyle.
When you live in a globalized, multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy meaning literally what happens like is just a power struggle between all the different groups competing for the reins of the USG. Because again, foreign money, properly understood, is just money which goes against the interests of the...
Again, trying to change the definition of foreign money in politics because it's advantageous for him to do so? God, it's so transparent.
That is practically every dollar spent anyway. And the only thing that's going to improve that situation for patriots and create opportunities in the future for patriots and make it harder for anti-patriots to get back into power in the future, Native Americans, beware of foreign influence. The only thing available to us right now in the immediate future is to work towards electing Donald Trump for president again. So this is a troubling story. It's unfortunate. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Ultimately, I just think we got 2 months. All right. You know, it's not really that much different from any other kind of behavior that we see with all the different groups who all align themselves against patriots. And in this case, especially the people freaking out about this as if they themselves don't effectively do the same thing. The patriot walks alone. That is okay. The patriot has always walked alone. It's never been a problem before. We just have to make sure that we stay on the correct patriot path. And that is heading towards 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, where we will put Donald Trump back in the White House so that he can make America great again. Doesn't that sound good to you? Isn't that a fine idea? Cool. Okay, so support Donald Trump for president, or else we're all literally gonna die. Paging all real
Please vote for Kamala. I'm begging all of you.
American patriots.
It'll make Doyle cry.
Leave a like on the video.
I've never wanted anything more.
If you liked the video, leave a comment on the video if you have a comment to leave on the video. Share the video with a friend if there's a friend that you want to share the video with who is your friend with whom you'd like to share the video. Turn on notifications so that you are notified in the event that I post content via a notification which you will have turned on prior. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you are subscribed to the content which comes from the channel, which is very frequent, which you would know as you are subscribed to the channel, so that the channel is in your subscription feed. All right, Patriots, we'll see you next time. There's a lot on the horizon. I can see it now. I can see it on the Patriot horizon. I can see the Patriot sunset. I can see the Patriot content. I can see the Patriots. I can see the Patriot pals, the Patriot gals, state-issued Patriot GFs. The future's so bright. I'm going to cry. I can't cry on camera. I don't want to get too emotional. But it's a compelling vision, is it not? Who among us is not compelled among us? Yeah, dude, did you even get that reference, by the way, when I said, like, we're aware of the Soviet connection? These post 9/11 Zoomers, man, I'll tell you, you don't even get it. You don't even get it.
He was born in, like, 1999, be clear. Minute left on the hype train.
Okay, well, bye. I'll see you next time. God bless America, and God bless you too, big guy. You're going to make it. You're doing a fantastic job, and you're going to make it.
Jesus, that's
Hello.
bad.
You should believe.
Okay, let's go to the MAGA sitcom, because I need something to laugh at. Remember the other week we watched the episode, like, 7 of that MAGA sitcom? The first episode got uploaded. It's 30 minutes long. Woohoo. In Germany, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and saving the hype train. Thank you so much. Over level 2. Episode, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs, getting us over level 4.
My pillow doesn't get me anywhere. What's my girl to say?
56% to level 5.
I can't go on this way.
You can get episodes 7 through and 9 through the Wayback Machine. Oh, hell yeah.
Am I ever gonna make it through? What's my girl to do?
Oh, we got a freaking key change. We did it. Rockagon, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and getting us over level 5. Woo! What a great hype train. Thank you for all the gift subs. Hilarion Katrin says, yay, cringe com, here we come.
Feeling blue. Am I ever gonna make it through? Am I ever gonna make it through?
Oh no, he's flossing!
What's a girl to do?
Yeah, that is Rusty Joyner.
I know it's only been a few weeks since Jack broke up with you, but tell me you're not eating another pan of brownies.
No, I'm not eating another pan of brownies.
I'm baking another pan of brownies.
They're still in the oven, huh?
For a few more minutes.
I called it.
That's it. I'm coming over.
No, that's not necessary.
Greenline, thanks for gifting 2 tier 1 subs, 62% to level 6.
Hi, Matt.
How's book sales?
Is that it? No hello, no how are you?
If you're like, I recognize that guy, what was he in? Die Hard. He was in Die Hard. He was one of the FBI agents in Die Hard. Overthought says, too many cooks, too many cooks.
Sorry. Hello. How are you?
Oh, that's much better. I'm fine, Janet, and how are you?
Great. How's book sales?
Book sales.
Yes, Rusty Joyner was in Voiceless. He starred in Voiceless. I have that on DVD. Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs and getting us over level 6. Wow, this is the best hype train we've had in a while. Thank you, everyone, for being so supportive of the show.
What book sales? Look, I've got something that's going to cheer you up. I've got the title for your next book. Brace yourself. Your next book is called What's a Girl to Do While Waiting for Mr. Right?
You want me to write a book on dating? You gotta be kidding. I couldn't even write a pamphlet on dating.
It's not about dating. You have to write from your heart, Janet. You have to write about what you know, okay? You know how to make a difference.
Not about dating, I don't. I write books about the issues that affect our country and our freedom.
Yeah. And I commend you for it, okay? But let me ask you, how are your book sales?
Well, I just thought that was poor marketing on your end.
Well, I wish that were the case, okay? You've got to mix it up, okay? I believed in
You
you.
haven't missed anything, Densetsu.
Published your book, but they're not flying off the shelves, hon. Trust me on this one.
I don't write fluff, Matt.
Who said anything about fluff? I don't publish fluff. I don't want a fluffy book.
Okay, just step away from the brownies. At least until you have the ice cream.
Focus!
Matt, I appreciate your faith in me, but
Focus!
as you may have gathered, I
Focus or stand closer to the foreground.
don't even like dating
The
books.
table is in focus, but she is not.
And that's why you need to write one. I want you to use all your passion, your heart, your understanding, and bring it to this genre.
Are we watching the whole episode? Yes.
This genre would bore the heck out of me.
Really? Well, let me ask you this. Would a bestseller bore the heck out of you? Imagine you're a 22-year-old girl, 37-year-old woman, or a 40-year-old man, and you're walking down the aisle, you're looking for a book. What kind of book are you looking for? True to life? Or what's a girl to do while waiting for Mr. Right?
I pick true to life every time.
Exactly my point. You and 5 of your friends, of your best friends, and your mother, perhaps. I want you to expand your fan base, okay? You've got them already. You've got to go outside the box on this, Jan. Take this subject and make it your own. Bring something fresh to it. Look, think about
There was gross laundry. That's funny.
this for a few days, okay? And then call me back and tell me I'm right.
I liked him better without the goatee.
Yeah, me too. Chef says it makes him look like Satan.
Now that you mention it. Oh, and remind me to never change clothes over here. If you get mad, you'll use them to clean out your oven.
That's ridiculous. I never clean my oven.
Brownies, right on time. So, are you ready to rebound with me yet?
What happened?
Man, yeah, and it's always weird in sitcoms. People just walk into each other's houses. No knocking.
Amanda dump you?
I'm afraid I've spoiled the poor girl with all the whining and dining I provided while I was gainfully employed. Hey, this is Jack's goofy shirt, isn't it?
Yep.
goofy
post-workout
shirt?
Therapy. And speaking
What
of
makes the shirt goofy?
therapy, Janet, you should go to the singles meeting at church.
You mean there's a reason you're still single meeting?
Yeah, I'm good.
So what were you talking to Matt about?
Oh, he wants me to write another book.
I'm almost done with my first book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, as soon as I finish the first one, I'm gonna read a second one.
Huh, won't be long, Jeff. Coloring books don't have a lot of words. So, do you have a title?
What's a girl to do while waiting for Mr. Right?
That's not a very good title. Valerian Catron with 100 bits says, screams internally from cringe. Why is this so fun? I don't know. Minute left in the hype train. I'm gonna get some water real quick, because I am thirsty and out of water. Be right back. I have returned. American flag shirt? Why would it be goofy? Thank you for the hype train, everyone.
That's hilarious. You can advise women all across America what to do with their ex-boyfriend's shirts.
That's a perfectly reasonable reaction when somebody tells you that you're the one, and then they turn around and dump you for the next one.
Yeah.
Why was that an awe and then a laugh?
For the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, because the eyes?
Dump you.
Oh, very normal emotional roller coaster.
The next one.
Yeah.
Good job, Lori. Except you forgot to mention how gorgeous Jack's girlfriend is and their much anticipated engagement. I got this. I'm gonna call my friend Dwayne.
Dwayne the swamp with drowning.
No, thank you.
So back to the whole singles group thing. You know I'm at Market Singles, right? You need to go this Wednesday. Look, I'll even go with you.
They don't let married people in singles.
What are they gonna do? Throw me out?
You can only hope.
Jeff works the miraculous once again. Dwayne's in. You're going on a date tomorrow night.
I told you no.
Look, if you keep sitting around eating brownies all day long, even I won't be able to talk people into dating you. Come on, little camper. You like movies. What's the worst that could happen?
He could be like you.
Smart, charming, incredibly good looking.
No, you have as much humility as you have tact. Go.
Endearing, isn't it? These are for Mark.
Aw, thank you.
And these are for Jeff. You'll thank me later.
Come on, Jeff. I know you can sleep in until noon, but some people actually have to work tomorrow.
Okay, oh tactful one. Maybe you could, like, do something with your hair before your big date tomorrow night.
Good night, Chad.
Oh, how about get new clothes? Skip work. Go to the gym, get a whole, like, makeover. Look, I'm doing my part. I can't do it.
This is just painful.
Ladies and gentlemen, your movie is about to begin. Please, no talking.
Jeff told me you prefer horror movies, but I hope you don't mind an action flick.
I learned a long time ago that you can't believe everything our mutual friend has to say.
So, you don't have 13 cats? It's really crowded.
Oh my god, the tall guy's on a book! You can see him on the book! Hold on. You can literally see the book the tall guy's supposed to be sitting on. Get in, he's tall, he's in the way, but also, not really. We put a book for this effect. We put a book there and we're just gonna shoot it. Because we can't zoom in slightly, even digitally, to make the gag work. Jesus.
This is the tallest man I've ever seen. Would you mind?
No, he's just sitting on a book. We saw it.
Agencies with me. I mean, you're a lot taller than I am, and I can't see a thing.
No.
Excuse me?
Well, then I won't be able to see.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We have a full house tonight. We are completely sold out. So I'm going to need everybody to move all the way to your right, please.
No.
No empty seats. Thank you.
The cinematography is spectacular. I've never seen anything quite like it. Let me know if you need me to describe anything for you, because I can see every inch.
The fact that Dueno was Jeff's friend probably should have been your first clue. You're going with me to singles.
Can't. Gotta work on my new book.
Very funny. I'll see you there.
What's a girl to do while waiting for Mr. Right?
I'm sad that this isn't as MAGA themed as the other episode.
I have no idea.
Hi. Listen, just to be upfront, I know you were probably trying to work up the nerve to ask me out, but I'm married. Just kidding. Listen, I'm actually here to support my single friend Janet, who I'm hoping will show up.
Hilarion Catron says, hanging up a phone doesn't make that sound. It's way funnier to imagine she just presses 7 each time.
Oh.
Whew. Gotta get that tactile. You gotta make a noise. Are you even hung up if there wasn't a noise?
Thank you for sparing me the emotional distress of working that nerve up. I'm Michael.
Lori.
Yeah, pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz, but I'm saving the seat for Janet and she's on her way.
Oh, well, sorry, there's no saving seats. Oh, hi, Michael. I'm Liz. Yeah, I was here last week. Pretty much every week.
Yes, you were. So, this your friend?
No.
I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. Let's just start by taking a moment to quiet our hearts.
This guy an actual pastor? He had pastor vibes.
I don't see any seats. Oh, thank you. That was so
As much as I would like to claim standing room only, we are bringing in some more chairs. Oh, you in the blue, we'll start with you. Okay. While they're bringing in your chair, if you could give us your name and an adjective to describe your most positive feature. We ask all the new people to do this.
My name is Janet, and I'm gonna go with prompt.
Prompt? Prompt is the adjective you went with?
My name is Wesley, and the adjective that best describes me is thoughtful.
Yeah, she has her Bible because it's like a church singles thing.
One of the first things that God said to Adam was, "It is not good for man to be alone." So don't be shy, stick around and enjoy some refreshments.
I just want to go home.
Just one glass of punch and I'll leave you alone, okay?
One glass, and I leave.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't feel like that's enough punch for the number of people that they had.
There, one glass. Good night.
Wow, you must have been thirsty.
Yeah, it's really great punch.
I stand by the fact that it doesn't make sense for, and I know in real life their age isn't as different as it looks, but it just looks like he has mommy issues that he's into her.
Michael, this is my friend Janet. Janet, Michael.
Hi, friend Janet.
Nice meeting you.
Can I get you some more punch?
Sure.
Janet's having a party on Friday. Would you like to come?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Party? Oh, what time is this party?
Yeah, what time is this party, Lori?
7 o'clock.
More punch?
No, I'm good. I'm actually over my limit. Gotta get going, but it was great meeting you.
Here's Janet's address for Friday.
Liz, good seeing you again, as always.
Yeah, see you at the party.
Looking forward to it.
Party? I'm having a party.
Yeah? I love how spontaneous you are.
I don't want to have a party.
Well, you've already cleaned
The
out your
ages of this singles group are all over the place. Those look like teenagers.
refrigerator. But besides, Michael's coming. So what did you think of him?
Seems nice.
Ooh, well, that is all of them.
Groceries. What's the occasion?
Did you notice that Jeff only comes over after all the groceries have been carried in?
One of the many handy uses of my front window. What's for dinner?
Well, tonight's specials are pizza and cookie dough.
Honestly, how are you still single?
It boggles the mind. Jeff, give me these. These are for the party tomorrow.
What party tomorrow? Why was I not told about this?
Don't feel bad, neither was I.
Oh, but you'll thank me later.
I'll thank you now. At least there's food to eat.
Now, you invited the people from work, right?
Yeah, Clark and Joe have plans, but Gail might actually show up.
Oh, all right.
That's the spirit. I just invited Dwayne.
You what?
Just to meet some of your friends. Anyways, you're not his type.
Oh, that's a shame.
I told you to get a makeover, but no one ever
You have
listens
enough to eat for dessert?
Well, you are baking the brownies, right?
The pizza's not for the party, I don't think. I think the pizza's her dinner tonight.
Oh, don't forget to invite the cheesecake lady. I want to marry her. You look like you're ready to have a party here tomorrow night.
Hey, I didn't even want to have
Oh,
this
wow, they were sharing that pizza. That pizza's enough for maybe 2 people. 3 people, you're pushing it. It was a pretty tiny pizza that they had.
party.
Oh, I've been to some of your parties. People sitting around thinking of ways they can change the world. Boring.
And don't forget her pretend parties where we ended up stuffing envelopes.
Hey, welcome to breakfast, Jeff. You get to make coffee for the 50 people going door to door.
Exactly.
I'm gonna plan this one.
All right, what you got?
Okay, so when people get here, we'll give them a slip of paper that tells them something they need to do. Like
Nice,
complain
Emisor. I thought I got a pastry vibe from that dude.
about the food.
But they already do that.
Hey.
How about tell a story without any point?
And how is that different from how you already talk?
How about eat off other people's plates?
Ooh, great idea.
And we can write nice little sayings on white paper so those people won't have a clue what's going on.
My work here is done. Good night, ladies.
Good night, Jeff.
Speak only in cliches. Well, if at first you don't succeed.
Oh, no, you don't. You have to stay with what you pick. That's the game.
Why?
and
Why?
wrong.
Why are they doing this? What's the point other than to be a contrived comedy bit? She's trying to meet people, but you're putting arbitrary restrictions on her? This is pointless.
I'm all of the time. Nah.
Pick one for Jeff.
I'll pick my own. Thank you. So, just 3 of us?
No, Mark is on his way.
4. Wow. That's fun. Skip from room to room. That's stupid.
Now remember, the boring people get the white slips.
Hi, Liz. Come on in. Jeff, Laura, you remember Liz?
Hi.
Hi, Liz.
This is the theme of the party?
What did you bring to this festive gathering?
Just me. I thought that should be enough.
Well, we
Thanks,
have
Avalon.
something for you.
Oh, thank you. I am grateful for your friendship. Oh, wow, that's so nice.
Have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
I brought my friend Sam Chin. I hope that's okay.
Sure. We've got a little something for you.
You have a bright future. Oh, how nice. In my uncle's restaurant, they put this in the cookie.
Really? Well, just remember, all
Oh, God. Oh, I don't think that's that guy's real voice.
In my uncle's restaurant, they put this in the cookie.
Really? Well, just remember, all that glitters is not gold.
That is brilliant.
Really? Well, let me show you to the kitchen, because after all, the early bird gets the worm.
Oh, so profound. You are almost as wise as my grandfather.
Oh,
Now
no.
remember, don't show anyone your slips
Now it's feeling more MAGA.
until after dinner.
For swing dancing?
Hey, so glad you can make it.
Hey, Lori. I am a bit overdressed. Sorry, I just came from work.
No, that's okay. Just maybe lose the tie.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's a good party.
Oh, yeah. It is, definitely. Hey, Janet, you remember Michael,
Sure
my friend
do.
from church?
Sure, any friend of Lori's is a friend of mine.
Oh, these are for you.
Thank you so much.
I'm Jeff. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Mikey?
His name is Michael.
Well, that is okay, Jeffy.
That's what my mom calls him.
You know what? I'll show you to the kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. Thanks for coming.
Something about that guy just don't like.
Gail, so glad you...
Sorry, I missed a tip. 22 minutes ago, green guy with a $5 tip said, Hannah, I joined the Navy 19 years ago. Boot camp was 95 guys using one 10-foot by 10-foot shower room with 8 shower heads. Toilets had no doors. It was 40% white, 30% black, 30% everything else. I don't think most of them could handle the diversity. That was in regard to why John Doyle doesn't join the military.
You could come. Come on in. We've got
Sorry, I missed that
for you. Don't mind him. Just take one. Here, open it up and read it. It's for you. Make yourself at home. It'd be great. I think we've got, thank you. We've got somebody else here. And hi there. Welcome. So glad you could come.
Do you have a microwave?
Yes, popcorn. How nice is that?
Chicken is really dry.
Hey, I've always said honesty is the best policy.
Honesty, best policy.
If the chicken is dry, just try the pie. It's quite delicious, I wouldn't lie.
You guys gotta hear what happened to me today. It all started when I woke up this morning and I put on my pants.
Yeah? And?
Well, I put on my left shoe, then I put on my right shoe.
Hey, they weren't very good anyway.
I want to be done with this so bad.
Hey,
Turnabout's
But there's like 16 minutes left.
fair play.
Come on, Jeff. Tell us what happened, man. You got us all in suspense.
What happened? I went to the store and I bought a gallon of milk. And? That's it. It's in my fridge right now if you want to see it.
That is riveting. Jeff should write a book, which you can't judge by its cover.
Great story, Jeffy. Dance with me?
Sure.
Well, I think you are a terrific dancer.
So, Janet, how's Jack?
Well, Liz, let's put it this way. There's plenty more fish in the sea.
Yeah, Sammy? This is, pretty
Goblin
much how-
Wifery, thanks for 6 months with Prime, says, what have I stumbled into today? Pain! This is a MAGA sitcom. This episode isn't as MAGA-y as the last one, but it's made by all MAGA people.
all American
And it's real bad.
parties are.
Look, I appreciate you throwing this party so you could see me again. I really do, but I'm looking more for gorgeous. And, well, as Jeff likes to say, you're more the girl next door.
That's because I'm the girl next door.
Yeah, that's not why he says that. Hey, where are all your cats? May I borrow you, Gordon?
Trey says they need to get that laugh track fixed. Someone might think there are jokes
Yes.
happening. This is episode 1. This is the first episode. The one we watched previously was episode 7.
Oh, should we get that?
No time like the present.
Hmm.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
It's her ex.
Of the devil.
I won't keep you. I just came to pick up my striped shirt that I left over here.
You know, the one that I gave you when you were cold?
I wouldn't bother you, except that it's kind of my favorite.
Really?
Jack, I think I found the striped tie you're looking for.
Actually, it's a striped shirt.
And that is my striped tie, actually.
I'll let you know if it turns up.
Thanks for stopping by. Actually, let me walk you to your car. I've got the most fascinating story to tell.
Wow, no time like the present.
No, I think she's an author later too, Nemesaur. It just didn't come up in the last episode very much.
Hey, Janet, I think I'm gonna get going. Yeah, are any of your friends on hallucinogenic drugs by any chance?
So long, farewell, I'd like to say goodbye.
I've got to run. Thanks a ton. I've never been to a party that was more fun.
Thank you so much for the cheesecake. What a great surprise.
Hey, thanks for letting me come to your party. I had a wonderful time.
He dropped his accent. What in the? He's not even. What? He stopped with what?
Oh, and by the way, I was born and raised in Texas. Y'all have a nice night. You hear?
Oh, okay. So they made it into a joke. His joke was that this bit wasn't racist. You're racist for thinking we wrote this character. I don't understand.
Well, I think I should be heading on as well. I just want to say that I had a really nice time. And I hope that I see you again soon.
Me too. Thanks for the dance.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget your time. Trust me. You don't want to leave it behind around here.
Good night. Your parties sure are interesting.
Hey, we forgot to tell everyone about
Never
it.
a dull moment. So, Janet, now that Jax broke up with you, he's available, right?
Well,
this cheesecake is really good. Wesley, why don't you walk Liz to her car? Well, maybe she'll share another piece of cheesecake with you.
Oh, sure.
Night.
Where's the cheesecake?
Liz.
Next time, I'm in charge of the guest list.
Hey, you think Jack was using the shirt as an excuse to see me?
I think the guy just wanted his shirt back.
Yeah, don't go there.
You're better off without the loser. He wasn't even polite enough to stick around for the end of my riveting tale of adventure.
He never was a big fan of you.
And a poor judge of character.
You did seem a little jealous when you came to the door in Michael's arms.
Really?
More like stunned. I mean, how many people answer the door being dipped by some strange guy?
Hey, which one of you wrote the dance from room to room slip?
Not me.
Me neither.
Looks like old Mike was just doing a little freestyle.
What a weirdo.
Florian Catron with 250 bits says, as much as I revel in MAGA sitcom time, I gotta head out. Here's for your Miss Frizzle look, Hannah. Have a good day. You too. Thank you. Sorry you gotta get going.
Sorry you missed the party, Joe.
Okay, so no, she is already working at this place that was in episode 7.
We had other plans that we just couldn't change.
Oh, so what'd you do?
Well, we stayed home and watched TV.
Good call. Yeah, Janet's friends, they're lunatics.
Good morning, everyone. Janet, did I hear you say your neighbor's in marketing?
Yeah? Oh, not the guy who bought the milk.
Tell him to come in and talk to me if he's interested in the Director of Development position. Anyone have anything else before I interview next in line?
Yeah, I got everyone's expense checks, except for Janet, who did not submit the proper paperwork. Again, surprise, surprise.
Like, this feels like even the other episode had a problem where it was, like, aimless. We did the plot about her going to the singles mixer, which kind of led into the party at home, which felt like it kind of had its own arc and ended. And now we're on another thing? I don't feel like they understand, like, an arc of a plot. Like, you generally want a story to have kind of like a whoop. Not just like, we're all over the place.
How you doing, kid? Haven't heard from you.
Well, there's a good reason for that.
So you haven't started yet. Tell you what, give me one chapter by next week and I'll leave you alone.
How about one sentence by next month?
What if I told you I got 3 times your last advance?
You what?
All right, you've got 2 weeks to give me one chapter. Tommy.
I need that book, Matthew.
I understand. Yeah, no, I'm sure she'll have it. She's very excited.
The show's
She's gonna
called
put her
What's
heart
a
and soul
Girl
into
to
this.
Do?
I mean, she's just a gem to work with. She never, you know, she's just an amazing person, never argues.
Yeah. Don't let me down.
You'll have a chapter in 2 weeks.
I think I need a down-to-earth kind of girl. You know, one who's happy with the simple things in life, like applesauce and brownies.
You know what? I've been told that my eyes are the color of brownies.
Hey, Julie Jules.
I was just thinking about you.
It's about a job. Can I call you back after
There's
my
still 8
dinner
minutes.
meeting?
Thanks for including me in your dinner meeting.
Anytime. Hey, speaking of jobs, Clark wants you to interview at Faith for the Nation.
Yeah? Would I be working side by side with you?
Actually, you'd be talking with donors about how we're going to change the world. Sure, you'd find it all very boring.
Hey, I was only talking about your pretend parties.
But the real ones are a blast. Oh, hey, I hope it's okay that I gave Michael your number.
That is so intrusive. What are you thinking? We know nothing about this dancing lunatic.
Hi, Mom.
Bothers me that they took the label off the applesauce. I know why they did it for legal reasons, but it just makes it feel like they bought disturbing back alley applesauce.
Party! Great. Just having leftovers with
Like, where did they get that applesauce from without a label in universe?
Jeff and Lori.
They have an applesauce guy, they buy it out of his trunk.
I wish I could have been there.
Hi, Jeffy. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Jeffy.
How's the job search going?
Well, I just found out there may be an opening to work next to your lovely daughter at Faith for the Nation.
Wow. I'm gonna pray that you get it.
Or pray for whatever job best suits Jeff.
No, I'm praying for this one. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Enjoy your feast, and I love you guys.
We love you too.
I love you more.
Hello? Hi, Michael. Of course I remember you.
Of course I remember you.
Yeah, I think Lori's husband is off this Friday. Right. Friday at 7 it is.
Woohoo! We're going out to dinner.
Ah, blah, blah. Hey, let's get back to me and my new job. Who's the clown that designed the logo? Don't you care about Alaska, Hawaii?
You should definitely bring that up in your interview with Clark. That'll impress him.
Tell me about Clark.
Well, Jeff, for starters, he designed the logo.
And don't forget to mention he left out the American territories.
Puerto Rico, Guam.
Can we ship Lori to the branch in Guam?
Don't have one.
Another great idea waiting to be heard. Honestly, how did you guys get along without me?
Somehow, Jeff.
Every line has a laugh track. Every line.
We managed.
Every line isn't a joke.
Okay, I'll send him right in.
And what is this you were doing while you earned your degree in marketing?
I was an independent entrepreneur in the news dissemination industry.
Paperboy.
Exactly.
Good marketing. You're a friend of Janet's. That means a lot.
Best friend. She calls me her BFF. Kind of embarrassing, actually.
Well, we'd love to have you on board if you'd like to join us.
Thank you, sir. I would.
Wait, you hired him?
That's right. Now, would you get our new director of development the paperwork he needs to hit the ground running Monday morning?
I wonder what the longest pause between laugh tracks is in this. It's got to be like 2 seconds, right?
Let me guess. She's the director of public relations.
These little bits, you'd have to remove the establishing shots, because obviously there's not going to be a laugh track during that.
Thanks for inviting us, Michael. Mark's idea of date night usually involves the drive-thru.
Convenient, economical, delicious.
Yes. I like to save the drive-through for the second or third date.
Well, you can't really supersize it, but I hear the food here is great.
McDonald's hasn't. When did you write this script? McDonald's hasn't offered supersizing in 20 years. What is this joke? It doesn't even make sense.
It takes some getting used to. I'm accustomed to hearing you only speak in cliches.
Cliches?
Oh, that's my fault. I wouldn't let her pick another slip. But Sam Chin, he thought she was brilliant.
Well, best I can tell, Sam Chin was right.
Thank you.
Hey there! We're out celebrating my new job.
Michael, you remember my neighbor Jeff? This is his girlfriend Amanda.
Hey there, Mike. Nice shirt.
Hi, Amanda. I think we met at one of Janet's cookouts or date nights.
I don't think I've ever met you. It is so good to see you here, though. In the same restaurant, in addition to you living right next door to Jeff. And now you're working with him in the same office.
You're actually working for me, but that's not important.
Because that's not true.
Well, hey, our table's ready, so I'll see you in the morning at the office. Don't be late.
What a lovely couple.
I've met her like 3 times.
She seems really, really nice. So now you'll both be working with him?
Thankfully, not for him.
Well, that just means you'll get a chance to hear more of his fascinating stories.
Yes, we will.
Oh, it's my boss.
What you doing?
I'm gonna get ready for bed. So
How many American flag shirts are in this goddamn show?
I'll be late for work tomorrow.
What an extraordinary idea.
Look, Jeff, this isn't just some office. Faith for the Nation is a ministry.
I'll admit to employing some conversation enhancers from time to time.
You know, that's all Gail would need to fire you, right?
Pleasant lady, Gail.
She's number 2 on the organizational chart.
Got it. Strive for number 1 without stepping on number 2.
Be sure to bring that up in the next staff meeting. It's gonna be a big hit.
Relax. Clark loves me. And Jan?
Yeah?
Thanks. I really do appreciate. Oh, hey. I got another call. I gotta go.
Good night, Jeff.
How's my little cheese puff tonight?
All of life can be summarized with 2 words. Trust God. But trust was made for the darkness. After all, you don't get off the train just because you go through a tunnel. Sam Chin would love that.
Call from Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I just wanted to say that I had a really good time the other night.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was good to get to spend time with Lori and Mark. You know, he
Clearly a hotel room.
he seems like
Kind
a
of
great
weird.
guy.
He thinks we're a bit crazy.
Well, it's because you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in a good way. You are a refreshing, fun kind of crazy. I never met anyone quite like you.
1 minute.
So, crazy girl, what are you doing Saturday?
Well, I was planning on working. I've got a bit of a deadline.
Okay, well, just take your time deciding, but when I get back from this trip, I want to take you out on the town. You know, a moonlight boat ride, dancing under the stars, or, you know, you can stay home and work.
What's a girl to do?
Oh, get it? That's the title.
I can't wait to find out.
We did it. That's the title. We did it. We worked in the title in the pilot. We did it. I really hope the rest of these don't get dropped, because she uploaded that 9 days ago to YouTube. If she starts putting more of these up, it's not gonna be good, because I have to watch everyone she puts up. And these are exhausting mentally. These are hard to sit through. Anyway, I have to use the bathroom real quick, so I'm going to do that, and when we get back, we'll watch this video from a channel called Catholic Monarchist Podcast, and it's called 8 Reasons Why Monarchy is Best. So that'll be good. Michelle Gladio with 100 bits says, I cannot articulate just how much the laugh track is fucking with me. Moira Soma, thanks for gifting a sub. I can get 1 through 8. God damn it, don't do this to me. Oh, that was 1 episode, yes! I'll be right back. Right, let's get into it. This video, like I said, is entitled 8 Reasons Why Monarchy is Best.
Good morning, welcome back to the Catholic Monarchist Podcast. Today we've got a fun episode today, and so this will be sort of, it's going to be new material, but a little bit of a recap off of some points that I've made in previous videos. But those videos were made a while ago, and so I think I would just like to kind of keep everything updated so that for anyone who's new, who hasn't seen anything that far back, this could be just a good recap video of what we're about here. This is the Catholic Monarchist Podcast, and so I want to make sure that I keep that message going, that is what we're striving for here, is to bring back monarchies. And one way to do that,
how do you get everyone on board with that, like genuinely and all in agreement, like, all right, who's gonna be the first king or queen? We should have some sort of election, maybe. And then every 4 years we'll do it again,
is to convince people that's what works. And so yeah, without further ado, we might as well jump right into it. So these are 8 reasons that I thought about over the last few days that really I think are a good case in favor of a monarchy, specifically in comparison to a democracy. They're kind of like those two main governmental systems that people now, I think, are debating over, because they are just so different.
I don't feel like monarchy's even on the list for most people. What are you talking about? I don't think most people are striving for a monarchy.
A monarchy has been the main dominant force for centuries until the American Revolution, and then since then it's just been democracies, or if you want to be more technical, constitutional republic or a democratic republic, whatever you want to say. It's all based on some kind of democratic base. So my first reason why a monarchy is the best form of government is consistency. Now, what we have now, there isn't any. best you get someone, well, it depends on the position, of course, but let's say
consistency isn't always a good thing if the consistent path you're on is bad, right? Having no say in who is in charge of the government or the state and saying, like, well, at least it's consistent, implies that consistency is always a positive. It is not. Often, it is a good thing to look at what you are doing and reevaluate because situations change.
president. The most you can get out of a president is 8 years, and then you're going to get someone else. And
FDR has entered the chat.
People are never going to have the exact same vision of what they want to see. And so
that's good. That's a good thing.
So and then you get it in a lot of other positions. You get it in the governor and a lot of just smaller positions below that. But the thing is, you never get a 10-year plan, for example, because things are always shifting back and forth. You might get
Stalin has entered the chat.
A conservative who governs one way.
I think that was a 5-year plan, though.
Puts everything in place, whatever. So Trump, we were pumping oil here, pumping gas, and prices for that were really cheap, for example. Then he's out, and you've got Biden. They shut down the pipeline, and now suddenly we had gas prices, depending on where you were. In Kansas here, we had it as high as the mid-4s, I think. Under Trump, I mean, at that point, it was, what, $1.50 per gallon?
That was during a pandemic when people weren't driving!
So, just things like that.
Jesus Christ.
We're just never going in a consistent direction and path. And so, that's one reason right there, I think, is that with a king, you've got them, or, just a monarch in general, you've got them there for a long
king, too, not a queen.
Time. And if they have a plan and idea, they follow through with it through potentially decades and decades. So that's one reason. Second, the king, when he gets his power, his position of power, it's by birthright. It's by his duty of state, his responsibility. He is born into it. He can't, just decide, I want to be king and I'm going to do everything I can to get that position, no matter how much corruption or whatever it takes, no matter how much fighting.
Okay, having an insulated class of people who have no idea what it's like to be a normal person ruling things isn't good either. What are you talking about?
There already. Now, some people might say, well, that's not good.
Roving Priestess says, yes, we love having to institute civil wars every time we want to change something about the government.
To hand something like that to someone, if they didn't earn it. Yeah, that's true. But in history, the heir to the throne did have to...
Has this guy ever met a dipshit Nepo baby? Apparently not. You should look up Elon Musk.
Go through quite...
Peridona says, an absolute monarch's dictators tend to need to sleep with one eye open.
A few tests to be worthy of that position, to be worthy of that huge responsibility. So they got...
I feel like his charisma mod is -5. Almost my New Vegas character currently. Toreador says, stares at the members of Senate and Congress on their 30th year.
The best education. They were trained.
Okay, I'm done with this guy. He is an absolute black hole. I do find his positions to be hilariously inept, but we can look at something. Alright, let's look at the Mark Robinson thing, because, oh boy. Mark Robinson running for North Carolina governor. This story dropped yesterday from CNN about his old posts on various message boards, including, I am a black Nazi. So let's take a look at some of the things he said. Moira Soma says, would this guy like to be the groom of the stool, perhaps? I don't get what that means. Editor's note, this story contains offensive language. Mark Robinson, the controversial and socially conservative Republican nominee for governor of North Carolina, made a series of inflammatory comments on a pornography website message board more than a decade ago, in which he referred to himself as a black Nazi and expressed support for reinstating slavery, a CNN K-file investigation found. I gotta ask a question outside of the obvious, like, what the fuck of the Nazi comments and the being in favor of slavery returning, especially considering he's a black man. Who posts on the forum pages of pornography websites? What are you doing? Get help! Have human connections! What are you, gooning and fucking checking the message board? What are you doing? Get help! MSKTV89 with 39 months says, thank goodness no one has ever tried to become a monarch by force. It always works smoothly and everyone has an heir. Henry VII has entered the chat, or sorry, the 8th. Broom is the stool is someone who wipes the king's ass? I didn't know that was a thing. Gross. Toreador says, let's just be glad he wasn't a fan of alliteration. Ooh, Despite a recent history of anti-transgender rhetoric, Robinson said he enjoyed watching transgender pornography. A review of archived messages found in which he also referred to himself as a perv. Other trans people, that's not surprising at all. Often people who are virulently anti-trans are fetishize trans people. Don't know why. It's a weird thing, but yep, that's a pretty common occurrence. The comments, which Robinson denies making, predate his entry into politics and current stints as North Carolina's lieutenant governor. They were made under a username that CNN was able to identify as Robinson's by matching a litany of biographical details and a shared email address between the two. Many of Robinson's comments were gratuitously sexual and lewd in nature. They were made between 2008 and 2012 on Nude Africa, a pornographic website that includes a message board. The comments were made under the username Mini-Solder, a moniker Robinson used frequently online. Robinson listed his full name on his profile for Nude Africa, as well as an email address he used on numerous websites across the internet for decades. Smart. CNN is reporting only a small portion of Robinson's comments on the website, given their graphic nature. Here are some screenshots. Oh boy. This is showing his @ on Twitter, and also the emails that are shared, but there's the, same thing. Many of Robinson's comments on Nude Africa stand in contrast to his public stances on issues such as abortion and transgender rights. Publicly, Robinson has fiercely argued that people should use bathrooms only that correspond to the gender they were assigned at birth. He's also said transgender women should be arrested for using women's restrooms. Quote, if you're a man on Friday night and all of a sudden on Saturday you feel like a woman and you want to go into the woman's restroom in the mall, you will be arrested or whatever we gotta do to you. I feel like he's never talked to a transgender person if it's all of a sudden. That's not how that works. Yet privately, under the username Mini-Solder on Nude Africa, Robinson graphically depicted his own sexual arousal, as an adult from the memory of secretly peeping on women in public gym showers as a 14-year-old. Robinson recounted the story as a memory he said he still fantasizes about. Oh look, projection! Again. Shocking. Yes, his email was also found on the Ashley Madison leaked email list, the website where it was like people cheating on their spouses. Hold on. Ugh. Let's see. Quote, I came to a spot that was a dead end but had two big vent covers over it. It was so happened it overlooked the showers. I sat there for about an hour and watched as several girls came in and showered, Robinson wrote on Nude Africa. CNN is not publishing the graphic sexual details of Robinson's story. Quote, I went peeping again this morning, Robinson wrote, but after that I went back, the ladder was locked, so those 2 times were the only times I got to do it. Ah, memories, end quote. In other comments on Nude Africa, Robinson discussed his affinity for transgender pornography. Quote, I'll just say T-slur. I like watching T-slur on girl porn. That's fucking hot. It takes the man out while leaving the man in, Robinson wrote. And yeah, I'm a perv too. In an interview with CNN on Thursday, Robinson repeatedly denied that he made the comments on nude Africa. Quote, "This is not us, these are not our words, and this is not anything that is characteristic of me," Robinson said. Presented with the litany of evidence connecting him with the mini-soldier username on nude Africa, Robinson said, "I'm not going to get into the minutiae of how somebody manufactured this, these salacious tabloid lies." CNN first reached out to Robinson Tuesday morning with evidence connecting him to the comments on nude Africa. It took his campaign 2 days to respond on an issue a denial. During his interview with CNN, Robinson repeatedly said the issue that faced North Carolinians were more important than what he called tabloid trash, and he steered the conversation toward attacking his opponent in the race, Democrat Josh Stein, the state's attorney general. "We are not getting out of this race. There are people who are counting on us to win this race," Robinson said. Campaigning for lieutenant governor in 2020, Robinson advocated for a complete abortion ban without exceptions. He later expressed regret in 2022 for paying for his now wife, to have an abortion in the 1980s. Jesus Christ, this hypocritical piece of shit. Moira Soma, thanks for gifting a sub. Now campaigning for governor, he says he supports a so-called heartbeat bill that would ban abortion when a heartbeat is detected approximately 6 weeks, with exceptions for rape, incest, and health of the mother. But writing as mini-soldier on nude Africa in December 2010, Robinson said he did not care about a celebrity having an abortion. "I don't care, I just want to see the sex tape," Robinson wrote. Classy. What a classy guy. Moira Soma, thanks for gifting another sub. In another thread, commenters considered whether to believe the story of a woman who said she was raped by her taxi driver while intoxicated. In response, Robinson wrote, quote, "And the moral of the story is don't fuck a white bitch," end quote. Robinson, who would become North Carolina's first black governor if elected, also repeatedly maligned civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., attacking him in such intense terms that a user accused him of being a white supremacist. Quote, "Get that fucking commie bastard out of the National Mall," Robinson wrote about the dedication of the memorial to King in Washington, D.C. by then-President Barack Obama. Quote, "I'm not in the KKK. They don't let blacks join. If I was in the KKK, I would have called him..." A derogatory statement towards Martin Luther King that I don't want to repeat. Martin Lucifer, and then a derogatory insult levied at black people. Yikes. Cloud Wizard with 100 bits says, "For anyone who's not aware, if you find that you're a week late and get positive pregnancy test, you're already 5 weeks pregnant. That's why the 6-week ban is awful. I mean, on top of other things, but yeah." CNN's reporting on Robinson's comments comes a few weeks after the Assembly, a North Carolina digital publication, reported that Robinson frequented local video pornography shops in the 90s and 2000s. The story cited 6 people who interacted and saw him frequent the stores in Greensboro, North Carolina. A spokesperson for Robinson called the story false and a complete fiction. Despite earning the full endorsement of the former President Trump and North Carolina Republican Party, Robinson faces an uphill battle in the race for governor against Stein. Robinson's history of controversial remarks, including mocking school shooting survivors, his past support for total abortion bans without exceptions for rape and incest, and disparaging the civil rights movement, have a consistent theme in the race. Recent public polling shows Robinson is losing to Stein. On the Nude Africa website, in both comments and his profile, Mini-Soldier offered numerous details that align precisely with Robinson's personal history. In his profile, Mini-Soldier listed his full name as Mark Robinson and disclosed a public email address Robinson used elsewhere online. In 2012, a user responded by a comment by calling Mini-Soldier Mark. Why are you using your real name on a pornography message board that you know you're writing terrible things in? This is so ridiculous. Mini-Soldier mentioned in 2008 being married for 18 years, which corresponds with Robinson's marriage to Yolanda Hill in 1990. In 2011, Mini-Soldier wrote he had been married 21 years. Mini Soldier wrote in a 2011 post that he lived in Greensboro, North Carolina, the same town where Robinson lived at the time and currently lives. And there's that information shown. There's the receipts. In a post in 2012, Mini Soldier said he served in the Army in the 80s during the same period as Robinson. In his sexually graphic comments detailing watching women in the showers in 2011, Mini Soldier wrote that his mother worked at a historically black college and university, HBCU. Robinson's mother worked as a custodian at the Northern Carolina A&T State University, an HBCU located in Greensboro. Both Mini Soldier and Robinson often posted about the same topics online, including reviews for remote-controlled helicopters, the retraction to specific celebrities, and their favorite Twilight Zone episode. How does he like the Twilight Zone? What? I'm guessing he doesn't understand the Twilight Zone. The email address associated with Mini Soldier on Nude Africa was also used by Robinson elsewhere online and social media. On the commenting platform Discuss, a user who joined in April 2011 features Mark Robinson's photo under the username Mini Soldier. Usernames and email addresses from Discuss were publicly leaked online in 2017, according to the company. CNN confirmed that Robinson's username, Mini Soldier, on Discuss shared the same email address as the one used on Nude Africa. Robinson's Discuss page is also linked to the Black social networking site Black Planet. The web archive shows a user named Mini Soldier described themselves as a 40-year-old in February 2009, the same age as Robinson at the time, and living in Greensboro, North Carolina, Robinson's hometown. Jay's a Proxy says, luckily Stein has been beating Robinson in literally every poll. The closest poll was +4 by The Telegraph. Latest poll by Emerson is +8 and Morning Consult +13. Oh, that's good. Wonder how long it'll take this guy to get a job on Fox News. Harold Elbelman says, I mean, there's horny on Maine, and then there's being government name horny on Maine. Robinson has frequently used the username Mini Soldier elsewhere on the internet, on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Robinson once used the Mini Soldier username, according to a screenshot he shared on Facebook in 2018 and data in Robinson's old tweets. A YouTube playlist for a user named Mini Soldier features exclusively videos of Robinson. On Pinterest, a user, Mini Soldier, lists his name as Mark Robinson. The Mini Soldier username has also posted reviews of products, and Replaces Robinson has also publicly recommended. It's almost comical the amount of evidence they have about this. This is like a bit where it just keeps going. He reviewed products frequently shared by Robinson on Facebook, including remote-controlled helicopters. The same email address and username used on Nude Africa also left reviews on Google for 2 local businesses Robinson later posted on Facebook that he used. Robinson's unique choice of language further links him to Mini Soldier alias on pornographic forums. Uncommon phrases such as, quote, gag-a-maggot, dunderhead, I don't give a frog's ass, and I don't give 2 shakes of it were used both by Mini Soldier on Nude Africa and by Robinson on his personal Facebook page. Oh. There's him using these very specific phrases. In the pornographic forums, Robinson revealed his unvarnished thoughts on issues such as race, gender, and abortion. Writing in a forum discussing Black Republicans in October 2010, Robinson stated unprovoked, quote, I'm a black Nazi, end quote. That same month, Robinson wrote in another post that he supported the return of slavery, quote, slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring it back. I would certainly buy a few, end quote, he wrote. In March 2012, Robinson wrote that he preferred the former leader of Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler, over the leadership in Washington during the administration of Barack Obama. Quote, "I'd take Hitler over any of the shit that's in Washington right now," end quote. Robinson's comments on nude Africa often frequently contained derogatory and racial slurs directed at Black, Jewish, and Muslim people. In a series of 7 posts in October 2011, Robinson disparaged Martin Luther King in such intense terms, calling him a commie bastard, worse than a maggot, a ho fucking phony, a huckster, that a user in the thread accused him of being in the KKK. Robinson responded by directing a slur at King. In October 2010, Robinson used the anti-Semitic slur, I'm not going to say it, but there it is, when discussing how he liked the show Good Times, developed by Norman Lear, saying how the show itself was a bunch of slur, written liberal bullshit. While discussing the Taliban, he referred to Muslims as this, I don't want to repeat that either, and said, if Muslims took over, liberals would be the first ones beheaded. Robinson also used homophobic slurs frequently, calling other users F-slurs. In a largely positive forum discussion featuring a photo of 2 men kissing after one returned from military deployment, Robinson wrote the sole negative comment, "Them some ol' sick-ass F-slur bullshit," he wrote. Yikerinos. So yeah, that's him. I'm hoping that's gonna push him even further back in the race, because holy crap, what an absolutely terrible person. And there's the article about him being found on Ashley Madison. I don't think I need to read it. I think that's pretty much the whole story right in the headline. Just absurd. Let's see. Bennett Kagami with 40 bits says, "Here's a story for a cleanse. My son often walks my dog with me. If our dog poops during the walk, 2-year-old wants to be such a helper. He always asks to hold the poop bag, and if I hand it to him, he's smiling and says, 'Thank you.' It's always to think about someone thanking. It's funny to think about someone thanking me for handing them poop." Helpful kid. Yeah, the level that politics have stooped to is just awful. Just absolutely terrible. Let's check out some right-wing watch videos. Some little mini, tapas of bullshit.
I believe it's Isaiah that says that, that one of God's judgments and curses on a nation for unfaithfulness is that they would be ruled by children and women. So it is, that's just one more sign of, it's not that, like, if we get Kamala, then we're going to be, have sinful policies and then we'll be judged by God. No, Kamala, that's true, but it's not just that Kamala will invoke judgment by wicked policies. Kamala is the judgment because of all the wickedness that we've already accrued. We have been a wicked, rebellious, apostate nation for decades and decades and decades.
I did cover the Trumpy trout, yeah.
Kamala is not the sin that will result in judgment. Kamala is the judgment that...
Christian dominionists are just horrifying, aren't they? Just psychotic, absolutely divorced from reality, justifying their hatred via scripture. Just the worst fucking people. Myopic, overconfident narcissists. Moira Soma says, but, Hannah, this was before he found God. Now he's just an overall hateful bigot.
is the result for all of our past sins. The judgment is being ruled by women. And, well, why is that a judgment? One, because the Bible said so. That's why.
That's all it takes for them. I read a thing. Literally, that's it. No more thought involved.
And two, because women are not fit for that role.
Terrible, terrible people.
21 statements came out of Kamala. Roughly 15 microaggression expressions. From disdain to contempt to mock awe to I'm thinking, I'm pondering. All of the theatrics. You ever seen the black and white pictures of Hitler, you know, where he's doing his poses in Berlin before he became an orator? You can see the expressions of studied plastic disdain or presidential empathy. Kamala is a dangerous woman.
What in the world?
I went to a little place in Kentucky, and I taught on a Friday night. I think it was a Friday night, and I was talking about the courts of heaven. Well, the next day when we came back Saturday morning, they began to tell me that there had been a man there the night before that was now in the hospital, and that had suddenly, for some unforeseen reason, had some kind of a condition that had caused his fever to go so high that the doctors were literally afraid it was going to cook his brain. And that and whatever they were trying, nothing was working to bring the fever down. And so they said, well, could you pray? And maybe even from a court of heaven perspective. So I began to pray, just kind of actually fumbling around, trying to figure out what would be the proper way to pray. And all of a sudden, another person in attendance at that conference said, I need to tell you something. He said, that man that is in that condition has been a lifelong Democrat. And we have tried to convince him that he is in agreement with the spirit of death because of his vote.
This is cult shit.
You understand?
This is just a cult. Jesus Christ. Renegagami says, isn't it lovely that these are the people who say their language shouldn't be policed because words won't hurt anyone? It's like they said that specifically because they just don't want to be held accountable for what they say or something.
And that when you vote, you come into agreement with spirits. You come into an agreement with spirits. So you need to make sure your vote is connecting you to the right thing in the spirit world.
Literally telling people if you don't vote the way I want you to, demons are gonna kill you? This should be fucking illegal. What the fuck? What an insane statement.
So they told me he was a Democrat, and that there had been people in the church that had tried to convince him how wrong he was about being a Democrat and voting just consistently that way, and that you know, the Democrats stood for abortion and every other evil thing that you could possibly imagine. But it didn't matter what they told him. He was stubborn and he wouldn't give in. So I'm standing there and I'm suddenly realizing his vote has connected him to a spirit of death that is claiming the legal right to take him out. So how many of you know this? We actually, according to 1 John 5:16, we have a right to come into the courts of heaven and represent things before God. The Bible literally says there that if you see one sinning a sin not unto death, you can ask life and God will give them life. You are standing as a representative, even as an advocate in connection with Jesus. You are standing in that place, and the Bible says your prayers can cause somebody to move out of death and into life. And so I, realizing that, just began to pray. I said, Lord, I'm here under the authority of those that are here, and as I come, I repent in behalf of this man that is on the edge of death and his brain being cooked. And I'm asking you, would you just call...
I think your brain might be cooked.
...grace and mercy to be...
Okay, that joke isn't fair. He's probably a grifter more than cooked. Could be both, though.
...be released to him. I am asking you, as one who is sending out... How many of you remember that God said that God spared Lot for what? Abraham's sake. That you have rights to come into the court of heaven and do these things. So I prayed this prayer and I asked for healing. I am not joking. 5 minutes after we finished that prayer, someone that was connected to the situation got the call and said his fever just broke. And the man was spared.
And we all believe it. Woo!
And he was back at the services the next day. But I want you to hear this. His vote connected him to something in the spirit world that had to be undone. Now, hopefully he repented. Hopefully he's a good, solid Republican now.
These people are goddamn demented. We need to reopen the mental asylums. Like, goddamn, this is bad.
God's wanting us to contend for victory, that we win. You know, the battle's not over until we win. And so a lot of people are believing a lot of different ways in all this. And I think when it comes to who's going to win the election, how this is going to go, I believe in this particular scenario, the Lord is saying it's in the hands of the church. If they will show up, I think there'll be victory. If they don't, I think we're going to go into a very, very difficult season. But I sense victory coming. I sense strength coming, Steve. I believe God wants to see the goodness of the Lord magnified in the land of the living yet one more time.
Well, I believe that too. And, you know, I wrote a book about Trump called God and Donald Trump, and we're not here to promote my book, but the whole purpose.
We're not here to promote my book, but, like, let's do it anyway.
It's about the prophecies, mainly with Kim Clement, but also
Yes.
Chuck Pierce and some others, Lance Wallnau, who felt before 2016 that Trump would win. And it looked impossible up to and including Election Day, yet he did. Then there were a lot of prophets saying he'd win in 2020. You know, looking back, I think a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. And now here we are in the do-over year. And I'm not going to get you to say who you think's going to win. I mean, God is...
I'm not going to give an opportunity to falsify your claims of being prophetic. Why not? That kind of seems like the responsible thing to do.
In control of that, but what do you think's going to happen if Trump doesn't win and Kamala Harris and the left get in?
Well, if they do get in, I believe that we're headed for a socialist concentration camp style of governing.
What the fuck? Doriador with 100 bits says, the doctor and nurses, phew, that was close. Good thing we got those antibiotics in him in time. His immune system should be able to take it from here. Maybe we should check out that church the Bible pastor left was covered in black mold. Oh, Nick.
This is Trump at his best. This is Trump talking.
This is Fuentes talking about Trump's relationship with Laura Loomer.
About the only issue that matters, which is white genocide, which is replacement migration.
Not a fucking thing.
The invasion of the border by immigrants. Finally. And if you go back and watch this show over the past few months, people called me a Trump hater, and I said over and over in these frustrated rants, I said, where is the old Trump? Where is the Trump from 2016? Where's the America First immigration restrictionist? Because all he talks about is grocery prices. And don't get me wrong, it's good politics to talk about that too. But you must make the election a referendum on immigration, because if it's a referendum on abortion, you're going to lose. And if it's a media contest, an attention contest between inflation and abortion, abortion's going to win. So you got to make it about immigration. Finally, someone in the campaign is listening. Someone is heeding my advice. They brought back Corey Lewandowski from 16. Laura Loomer shows up, and Laura Loomer supports white nationalists and white identitarians. She's been a friend of mine for years, and she has talked about white genocide consistently. She was at Seville. She defended me for a long time. And he has turned this whole week wall-to-wall media coverage about immigration rather than abortion or brat or whatever. It's perfect.
Hey, fun fact, when a neo-Nazi is applauding you, you're doing a really shitty thing.
We've seen the federal court come in recently and order redistricting in Alabama. Alabama has
Chief Justice Tom Parker?
9 electoral college votes, but that's because there are 7 congressmen and 2 senators. The federal courts ordered redistricting to give Black Alabamians a chance to have a second Black congressional representative, and that's a new district that's up for election this November. And so that's something that we want to ask people to pray about, the election between the Republican and the Democrat in that new 2nd congressional district in Alabama.
Without going into it, I just got an invitation from another wonderful brother to meet with some of the, well, I won't label it right now, but you read between the lines. We're going to probably go meet with the main party running right now. And I believe the Lord has a word for us to be present in some of these places. Be praying for us. We apparently, I don't mind saying this, but we apparently have been invited to go meet with 45.
Trump.
A few of us. But the whole side of, her campaign, I ain't with her. They've got a serious demonic, what's the word for it? What Jezebel had. A spirit of seduction. A seducing spirit that's trying to get people.
It's a woman. We gotta call her a whore.
Lulled to sleep, to follow along. And they're even getting some stupid preachers to go along with it. And continue to celebrate that and say, we're going that direction. Well, of course you are. You're lulled to sleep by the spirit of Antichrist.
Again, we really need mental institutions. Not run like they used to be, but we need something. Because holy crap. Seems like a decent amount of the population is just, woo, gone. Just their heads are not on Earth. They're just, whoop, another world somewhere.
And I say, even as you told me to say in 2015 against Hillary Clinton, I now declare against Kamala Harris. Yes.
Didn't say her name right. The prayer won't work. Spells don't work unless you get the name right.
Yes. That according to James 1:11, that her campaign is as grass, and that she is even as the flower of the grass, and that the burning, searing, exposing heat of God now causes her campaign and her herself to wither away, and to become as nothing. That there would be exposure from the radiance of who you are, and it would cause, Lord, her campaign to vanish.
Whack job.
To declare in the name of Jesus. I'm also here to declare in the
Toreador says, oh, thank goodness, they're just praying. I thought they were actually going to do something.
name of Jesus, that we are not going to allow a bunch of Marxists and socialists and communists and a bunch of
everything I don't like is Marxism.
Sexual perverts and a bunch of political power grab.
Sorry, have you met Trump? Benigami says, even if Kamala got the power the way they say, who cares? One, sex work is work, and two, most of the men they like got to power being Epstein's friends. So far as I'm concerned, Kamala's still a step up. I wouldn't give them that. Don't let them get away with their sexist, bullshit that way. I don't think it's fair.
Take our country and lead it in a direction that is not pleasing to Almighty God. America is going to remain one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've been praying this prayer. Lord God, speak confusion into their ranks. Make it so they turn on each other, so they can't get it straight, so they fumble over their every word, so they mess up their every strategy, so that things collapse in on them. Lord God, work your will in behalf of those who are seeking to represent you and cause those who are against you to fall flat on their faces. So I don't care how well Kamala Harris did in the debate. I've got news for her. She doesn't have a strategy that can outsmart God. God is the one who is going to bring about the result that you and I are praying for. I believe that we've got victory that is coming on the first Tuesday in November by the will of Almighty God.
The way that you engage is with an iron will.
Yep.
The way that you engage is you have to be ruthlessly committed to winning real, tangible, political, cultural, academic, ecclesiastical power. You must seize power. And then with that power, you then wield it righteously. And when power is wielded righteously, it is a blessing to the righteous. And it is even a blessing to the wicked if they choose to turn from their wicked ways. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins in my authoritarian takeover. Trust me. You just need to stop doing what I don't want you to do, and everything will be fine.
Everybody
Jesus.
wins. The atheist will fare much better under Christian nationalism than if Christians lose. What you'll get, which will not be a globo homo gay globalism.
Okay, let's see what else we... Try this.
Y'all know what time it is. Nobody move.
Understand that? Fuck you! September 18th, 2024. Donald Trump has a rally in New York tonight, I believe somewhere in Long Island.
Why is Trump doing a rally in New York? Not gonna win New York.
Supposedly, they found some bomb material or explosive material somewhere by the rally. Now, they said they found it, they didn't find it, it was a mistake, there was a dog that sniffed it out, there was no dog, it was some guy's privately trained dog, he just happened to smell it, I don't know, there's so much bullshit going on with this, who knows? But I did find something funny because they showed all these people, 60, 70,000 people at the rally. Then there was a small band of protesters, and it's the same bullshit.
I know that he has supporters in Long Island, but he's not gonna win New York, so it's like pointless because of the Electoral College. So what's the point other than to boost his ego? Are there down ballot races he was trying to help?
Every time. Donald Trump is racist, he's divisive, and we're the party that's trying to unite everybody together. I tell you what, in a free republic, we're never going to be united. It's just how it is. People have their ways and they go about things. They like stuff, they don't like stuff. We're never going to be united.
I actually didn't see Trump's NFT thing. Was it bad? I assume it was bad because it's Trump and it was NFTs. Or, sorry, crypto. I know we already did his NFT thing, but he did some other kind of crypto?
tell us about last night. Well, they did bring.
I just find him premiering it. Trump crypto project. Does anyone know the specific name of it?
According to an SEC filing, and
type of investments in
crypto.
Just other people talking about it. It was on X. Yeah, but I figured someone would post
I think
it.
all those that tuned in. Barrel of a 400.
Begin tonight with a statement.
Toreador says he went to a crypto bar and got a crypto burger. It wasn't a thing of his, he just promoted it. I thought he did unveil a crypto project, though. Well, at minimum, we'll see the burger thing.
In the meantime, we're keeping an eye on Donald Trump. He is in a bar, I believe, in downtown New York called the Pub Key in downtown
Pub Key
Manhattan. Maybe we can play up some sound here, guys, and see if he says anything.
It's that one.
Oh no! Having to explain to an 80-year-old how to use cryptocurrency. Gitara says at least he didn't go to a tech bro event and get his eyeballs cooked from the inside out by weird lights.
Scan this QR
Would I trust a crypto burger? No.
code here with this phone if you want to take that from them. Go ahead. Scan that QR code right up here. Take a picture. Oh, right there. Right there. It's that one.
It's a crypto reference, Carposian.
Slight technical difficulty.
Slight technical difficulty.
And fantastic, it went through.
If only there was an easier way to do this. Pulls out my card and taps it.
Right. I need to refresh the invoice. Invoice? Can we refresh the invoice? Oh, it did go through. All right, we're done. Perfect. The first transaction by a president on the Bitcoin protocol. History.
You know what that means? That's history. History of the making. Hello, everybody. I got to go back and see those people.
All right, let's go.
Come on.
Right this way.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Sir, what's your reaction to the Fed setting interest rates today?
I guess it shows the economy is very bad to cut it by that much. Assuming they're not just playing politics, the economy would be very bad, or they're playing politics, one of the
Oh my god, no matter what the Fed did, they were gonna bitch about it.
And Democrats automatically have the Teamsters.
If they cut it by half a point, or by a quarter of a point, they would have gone, oh, they're not cutting it enough. They really want the economy to crash. If they had not cut it at all, they'd be like, oh, they're destroying America's economy. If they'd cut it more, it'd be... No matter what, they were gonna bitch about this.
They took a vote, and I guess I was at 60% or more, and that's
What?
a great honor. I mean, it's really... I've had a lot of Teamsters work for me, a lot of the concrete trucks, and built all these buildings. that
Oh,
you
they're
see in New York
playing
City,
the George Lopez song in the back.
I believe Washington Place, 85 Washington.
New York. But New York has a lot of problems, and we're going to make New York great again also. We're going to bring it back, and we're going to hopefully win. I think we have a real chance of winning with hundreds of thousands of people coming from prisons and jails and from mental institutions and dumped into New York. The people don't want that. And we'll work with your mayor and your governor, and we're going to do a lot of great things.
Yeah, I
for
did
New
see
York.
that,
We
Zarek
wanna do
Shadow.
that, and we have to bring it back. We can't let this happen to New York. So unfair.
Cheap
Have
voting for
hundreds of
wolves.
thousands of people dumped into the city and the state. You just can't do that. Nothing, no place can sustain that.
Would that mean a lot to you since it's your home state?
Well, I'd love to win New York. It hasn't been won in many, many decades by a Republican, but this time it should be won by, this is a Republican.
Feels like a waste of his time.
That loves it, that lived here for many.
Like, not even talk, like, I don't like Trump, but like, why is he wasting precious campaign time campaigning in a state he will never win? It would be like him going to California. Like, it just makes no sense.
Many years, and
it would be like Kamala going to Montana. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I'm all about New York. We have to bring New York back, and we're going to. Hopefully we're going to win New York. I mean, we're here because we want to win New York, and I think that's going to happen. Okay.
Thanks so much.
President Trump, we.
Kagami says Trump's tariffs will destroy the economy, if not the world with us. They know nothing. They're morons.
Fanatics here in New York. We love this bar.
Yeah.
Which one's your impression? What's your impression of
I think it's a great place. I just made the first transaction in Bitcoin.
Oh my god. Moira Soma says, the worst, most cringy fashion event ever was held by a MAGA brand. It was the most god-awful thing I've ever seen. I mean, what is it about MAGA people not having a single string of good taste in their DNA? Oh boy, we'll watch that next. Oh, no!
I have another segment. Everybody that's a crypto guy, crypto maniac as I call them, because they really are that.
We're a little bit wild,
believe,
right? Yeah,
but everybody, whether it's Bitcoin, but crypto, get out and vote. Because if you vote, we cannot lose. We cannot lose. We want to get everybody that agrees with you people, what you're doing, and a lot of people. There's a big lot of people. And, you know, they've been treating you very badly at the SEC, etc. And we're going to treat you very fairly. But you have to get out and vote. Okay? You got to get them.
Thank you very much. Yes.
We're gonna make
Vote for me and you can pump and dump as much as you want.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll make crypto.
And it's pretty easy to use, right? It was fairly easy to make that payment before?
It was very easy, yeah. No, 'cause
I just had to have 2 people help me. It was so easy.
quickly and beautifully.
Bitcoiners support you, Mr. President.
It's going to be great. It's the beginning of
The
a
Bitcoiners support you.
new era, actually. I mean, if you think about it, it's what they've done is so amazing over a short period of time.
We appreciate that.
And you look at the values, and you look at the kind of numbers you're talking about, bigger than the biggest corporations in the world put together, many of them.
Yeah.
So it's quite something. You want me to sign that?
I wonder how Donald Trump feels about Tether.
I'll do that, sure.
And the menu, we have some. It's National Cheeseburger Day, evidently.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I want
So we got some burgers and Diet Cokes.
I want one of
It's the best burger in the city.
And David's doing a good job, everybody, right? I think David. Does everyone know David?
Mr. Bailey.
Gitara said, why is he wasting time on tech bros when a lot of them don't like him, billionaires, unless they wave fancy new tech in front of them, or won't be voting anyway because they're either too lazy to get up and vote or simply don't believe in using their rights. I think he likes... I mean, he's pushing for Bitcoin, bros. He went to that crypto convention, too. It seems like a weird strategy they're doing. Zarek Shadow says, anytime I read one of those articles on the news about undecided voters, I swear I want to scream. How the hell is anyone undecided at this point? Even worse is when people say something during this cycle caused them to lean towards Trump. It is maddening. It's maddening.
The magazine, yeah, he's great.
He's doing a good job. You got this whole thing started.
Yeah.
I'll sign that.
A menu, yeah.
Would you like one? Do you want a hamburger?
These burgers are killer. They really are.
They're good.
Save your bite.
Great.
Did he eat the cheeseburger? I think he just took it with him.
Oh, say, can you see?
Oh, no.
By the dawn's early light, what so proud?
Oh, that's so ugly. Why?
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
Wait, what's that one? That one's hard. Oh, it's it's like that painting of the Continental Congress.
Or the ramparts we watched.
It's Terminator Trump.
Were so gallantly streaming. Or the land of the
Oh boy, that's going up in pitch. He with Goblins with 100 bits says, MAGA chuds alienate and exclude LGBTIQ people, and then wonder why their fashion gets mocked for being dog shit.
And the home of the brave.
God. Is there anything else we need to watch? Wolf Glenn 99 with 100 bits says, who told that gentleman he could sing? I don't know. Someone mean. Oh, we're on a hype train. 27% to level 1. Oh god, what's the we didn't start the fire one? Benikagami with 40 bits says, is it any surprise that MAGA people love the national anthem, considering the Daughters of the Confederacy and their allies are the reason the Star-Spangled Banner is our anthem to begin with? Is that true?
Changing paths of hurricanes, thumbs up at a soldier's grave, watch for sharks and batteries if you go out in boats.
I can't listen to so many stupid things Trump said in that close of proximity. I think I'll lose it. Now I have that stuck in my head. God damn it, William Joel. Oh shit, WolfGlen99 with 1,000 bits says Billy needs to sue on that one. Thank you for 1,000 bits, I appreciate it. 92% to level 1.
Yesterday, Donald Trump, oddly and without explanation, referenced Kamala Harris's gender as he observed that she has performed better in the polls than Joe Biden did. Take a look.
Why doesn't anybody ever ask a follow-up question? Like, what do you mean?
Well, that should have happened in the debate.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, doesn't do interviews. You would not see her come onto the show, I can tell you right now. She's not knowledgeable about economy and various things, and I think it would be a problem. But you know what? He was pretty much gone. They said, Joe, it's over, you're getting out. And he said, I'm not getting out, you're getting out. And they were very nasty, 25th Amendment and everything else. He got out, and they put her in, and she somehow, a woman, somehow she's doing better than he did.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Donald
Somehow
Trump,
a woman. It's just old-timey sexism, too.
And that is fine. I would rather be in a free republic and be somewhat divided than we all come together under communism. Yeah, because we will be together like it or not. Remember that. They are pushing communism. Look at the shit they're talking about. They want to jail you for memes. California.
What the fuck are you talking
about? I believe they banned memes. I don't see how they can. But
California banned memes. This just in, California Governor Gavin Newsom signs bill to ban memes.
But supposedly they done it.
Not our dank maymays.
But what is missing?
The flag is upside down. It's a symbol of in distress. Performative MAGA people will do it. To be like, we're under occupation by communists.
Information. anything the fucking leftists don't like to hear, whether it's true or not? What happened to free speech? What happened to be fucking smart enough to know what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not?
That has never been a factor. What are you talking about? So many people are not. I'm not telling you what to do with that information, but acting as though the general populace has the responsibility and ability to discern reality from fiction is so ahistoric. That is not how people are generally. People are easily led. People are easily manipulated. What are you talking about?
I'll give you a little story about how bad this is. Long time ago, before we were actually a country, there was this little known, it was a pamphlet, I believe.
Oh god, is he gonna go in on common sense? Phyllis Filler with 40 bits says, this just in, Gavin Newsom has taken a break from sweeping homeless camps to ban this man in particular from entering California.
It was called Common Sense.
Oh, we did it.
Written by a guy named Thomas Paine. Now, if you're over 40 years old, you probably know who he is. If you're under 40, you probably know how to put a condom on a cucumber, but you might not know who this guy is.
You think they don't learn about Thomas Paine in school?
Well, anyway.
The fuck are you talking about?
He writes this pamphlet, Common Sense, and it was...
Also, I'm going to put this out there. If it's between knowing about Common Sense, the pamphlet, and Thomas Paine, and knowing safe sex, I'm probably going to pick safe sex. More practical for people day to day. Okay. I'm done with this guy. And we're done for the day. So thanks everyone for hanging out for 3 hours and watching the Chuds with me. I know it was painful. I don't think I'll be streaming tomorrow, but I will be back Sunday. We got to do some patron-only shows this month, too. So I think we'll be doing one Sunday along with a normal stream, and then we'll probably do another one sometime later next week. Speaking of which, not only can you get into patron-only shows with the patron subscription, if you're a member on YouTube, I'm going to be posting the link in there too. So YouTube members can also get into the patron-only live shows now. They're more like supporter live shows. So that'll be good. Love you too, Mr. Blast. Let's see what rating. Does anyone have anyone they want me to raid? I could always just end, but I like to do
like
raid.
This that I was responsible for.
I don't
I've
think
attended
Hassan
many
needs
live
a raid.
productions, and I think like
Why can't I stop it?
facilitating or participating in a live production and being.
There we go. Wow, a lot of people at TwitchCon. Rainbowzilla? Take a look.
Some more explore, you see.
Alright, sounds good. Thanks everyone, have a good night. I will see you soon. Have a great day tomorrow. And make sure you vote in the new costume poll. It is on the announcements channel, so make sure you do that. Boop 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 boop. You too, kitties are mega cute. No problem, perspicacious hem. Alright, have a great night.